remove Elders Member of Parliament Ednah from the team leading the talks. Today, the chairman of the negotiation committee, that is George Murugara of Kenya Kwanza and Otiende Amolo of Azimio, are expected to meet to give directions on how the negotiations will proceed. Kenya Kwanza has now appointed the Member of Parliament for Saku Dido Raso to replace Kainan, saying it is ready to continue with the negotiations to end the current tension.
We have therefore quickly consulted and agreed to nominate the Honorable Dido Raso, Member of Parliament for Saku constituency, to replace the Honorable Kainan so that these talks can resume.
And we have been so accommodative, bending backwards, listening to them. We are yet to bring any of our issues, and that is why we have said, in the interest of the nation, we always will bend backwards.
Honorable Kainan, what you have done is to show great statesmanship for our country. The love you have, the commitment you have, as far as Kenya is concerned, and as we have kept on saying every time, Kenya is greater than all of us.
Speaking after the change, Kainan said that he himself agreed to withdraw after long consultation, saying that he would not like to be used as an excuse if the negotiations did not succeed. The minority leader in the National Assembly, Opiyo Ndai, welcomed the move by Kenya Kwanza, saying he is still a member of Azimio as Jubilee has not withdrawn from the coalition. In addition, Ndai has asked Kenya Kwanza to stop interfering with Azimio's leadership if it wants the talks to continue. He has threatened to return to the streets if Kenya Kwanza does not show interest in continuing the talks.
The leadership of the Azimio La Umoja One Kenya Coalition Party met and agreed to once more suspend the mass protests that we had earlier scheduled to continue. We will not hesitate to resume the mass action at the slightest indication of lack of goodwill and honesty on the Kenya Kwanza side.
It should be noted on Monday, Azimio led a protest in Nairobi after suspending it for a whole month, accusing Kenya Kwanza of not having good intentions. Now, Deputy Minority Leader in the National Assembly, Sabina Chege, will today know her fate on whether she will be dismissed from the post or not. Speaker of the National Assembly, Moses Wetangula, will issue a ruling following a request that was submitted by the Azimio Coalition Party that Chege be removed for violating party rules. Wetangula yesterday said he will give a communication today after the minority wing raised their concerns over delayed communication of the issue at hand. The minority leader in the National Assembly, Opiyo Ndai, claimed that the Speaker ignored Azimio's written notification of its intentions to change minority leadership in the August House.
It is not the duty of the majority coalition, nor is it the duty of the Speaker to decide for us who is our whip or deputy whip. And that message must go home clear and loud, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, it is now a month. It's now a month since I did write to you. It's now a month. And therefore that delay definitely means that our side is incapacitated.
There has been tension as to whether Chege should be removed given the fact that she is supporting Kenya Kwanza's side. Jubilee Secretary General Jeremiah Kioni suggested that Sabina's position be filled by Mark Mwenje or Garissa woman representative Amina Ugudun Kuno. There are other leaders who are proposing the position be given to Samburu West MP Naisura Lesuda. Lesuda was a member of Jubilee, then moved to Kanu before the last general election. Now, Interior CS Kithure Kindiki is among government officials expected to appear before a Senate ad hoc committee investigating the circumstances that led to the deaths of 110 people in Shakahola, Kilifi County. The committee, that has 90 days to report back to the House, is set to start its public hearings next week, with the date with CS Kindiki, AG Justin Muturi and the Registrar of Societies in the Office of the Attorney General. Among the issues the committee will seek to establish from the officers include the registration status of religious organizations and the mitigation measures of the current case and regulations, if any, in use to control religious entities and their activities. And finally, President William Ruto says that due to the crisis of funding at universities and TVET, they've come up with a new funding model. Ruto says the model will see them increase the budget allocation of higher education increased by over 30 billion shillings. This is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseto. Good morning.
102.5 Spice FM, Kisumu.
The following takes place from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. every weekday on Spice FM.
Congratulations. You've seen the hand of the Lord.
Thank you very much. I've earned another title today this morning at Spice FM. Mama Justice, I don't mind it.
Joel in Kericho.
Salama sana Heri, habari ya asubuhi.
Salama bwana, mambo namna gani?
Salama kabisa bro.
Mambo ya Aina Moi kuliendaje?
Mambo ya Aina Moi, vile nilikwambia ndugu yangu, alienda asubuhi na ile gari ya kwanza.
I must have missed it.
So did I.
Even if somebody was to render you irrelevant, there is still work you can do.
Okay, sawa.
I deserve to keep you accountable. You deserve to give me a report. You don't work for me. No, I don't work for you. You work for me.
Do you like that Freudian slip? Lovely, isn't it? Thank you very much.
The Situation Room.
3, 2.
Everybody, welcome to Kenya's biggest conversation.
Heri Latifa, Muga, Madam Du, nimesalamia wote sana.
Tumepokea salamu, asante sana.
Hapa Garissa today the weather is very good, only that baridi inatupeleka mbio sana.
Baridi ni degree ngapi hapo?
Hata sijui lakini madam tunakauka sana.
If you want to follow the money trail, you've got to think like a thief to be able to catch that thief.
A slap from a friend is better than a kiss from an enemy. You remember the kiss of Judas Iscariot? Iscariot.
Yes.
He's the one that imetuweka kwa hii mashida yote na mataabu kwa sababu of that kiss. Yet the slap of Jesus Christ when he slapped those guys wenye walikuwa wanauza mboga ndani ya kanisa took them to heaven.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
This is one of the hottest show that we can ever miss in the morning, and it's a show that really gives a real situation in the Situation Room.
Pleasure to be here. Thank you guys so much. Nduthai, nice meeting you. Even beautiful in person more than in photos.
Say that again. Character is like pregnancy, you cannot hide it. You know, people hiding here and there, you know, but after 2-3 months, 5 months, now you realize, so that is why the attitude that you are showing us, you're pregnant.
It's like what my grandmother would say. You cannot pickpocket a naked man.
How's that? It's communal, isn't it?
No comment. Revenge is for children. It's for kids. When you grow up, you realize the best revenge you can take on somebody is to ignore them.
Now, I'm just new in politics. It is not everybody's cup of tea. That's why some people come in one term and that's it for them.
Political parties in this country do not have ideologies, whether luring or otherwise.
And that is the effect of corruption.
Any time an offense occurs anywhere in the country, it is the job of the Inspector General to look into it. Whether it's corruption, whether it's murder, whether it's petty, that is his job.
If we have chosen to be a corrupt nation, then we produce corrupt leaders. Everything then becomes chaotic that you cannot be able to change a nation.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
If you're on Mombasa Road this morning and you are outbound, you'll find that the road construction is going to slow folks down quite some as you're trying to get onto and out towards General Motors. So they're working on the road down there, and it's going to take some time to get out of that. If you're coming off Thika Superhighway, you should be all right getting into the city. A little bit of traffic here and there as you get towards the CBD. Coming out of Westlands looks okay for now. And we'll see some traffic on North Airport Road heading out towards the Eastern Bypass. That's already started to do the thing this morning. A few minutes after 6 o'clock. Let's see what it looks like in about an hour or so. Talk to us on Spice FM KE on Twitter.
Welcome to Spice FM, the best exclusive radio station bringing you the best mix of the best music ever. This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latin, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is The Situation Room, the only way.
It's too cold in here. Aye. Why?
Telling you.
Why?
Tell me why. Tell me why.
Ain't nothing but a heartache.
I don't think that's the song CT is singing. What song are you singing, CT?
Aye. Sheesh.
Once upon a time, there's a band called Osibisa.
Mm-hmm.
Osi what?
Osibisa.
Osibisa.
Mm-hmm. African band.
Sounds like you want to say Osadebe.
Ah, man. Well.
Osabinya.
Oh, yes. They belted out some delightful tunes. Yes. Google search them.
So do that one of Tell Me Why.
I like the way CC says Google search them.
Google search.
I know. Most people just say Google, but I like the way CT says Google search them.
You can Bing search them also.
No, I just like that you put the search after it.
What? I should search Google instead.
People just say Google.
So you don't Bing search them.
Right.
Or Yahoo search them.
Yes. Now you've got it.
Yes. You're an equal opportunity employer.
I'm an equal opportunity presenter.
Oh, wow.
Take your pick. Yes.
Which one do you like?
Okay. It reminds me of some guy in high school who'd sit there and say, "Excuse me, do you have a rubber eraser?" A what? A rubber eraser.
I actually can't.
Why do I get the distinct impression that particular brother came from my neck of the woods?
Oh, yes.
It is the only
a rubber
possibility.
eraser.
all other possibilities have been eliminated.
As opposed to a rubber what?
Weather. Welcome everybody to Kenya's biggest conversation. Ndu is not 100%, so we are telling you how she is. She
Omo, you guys, yesterday I went to the hospital. They drew my blood. What do they do with all that blood for you to just, and then they take a dot? I stood there, so I want to see.
Just in case, so that they
drew your blood and
poking you and asking for blood.
But
they take sufficient.
They took a whole thing like this of my blood, and then the fella used a dot
to do it.
Microscope on that thing that they do. He just took a dot and they put it in that thing, and then they shook, and then he threw the rest away. Still leave me with it. What are you doing with it?
Maybe that person didn't know what they're doing.
Hi, Bana. And he just put a dot in the machine, put a little bit on the strip.
And you watched him drain the rest.
So I asked him, I said, "Can I stay?" Because usually I don't stay in the lab. I said, "Can I stay and see what you're doing?" So I asked him, "So why'd you take all of it if you're not going to use it?"
It is likely. You know something, huh? You don't want to keep drawing blood from a patient. So you draw what you think will be enough for everything you want to do.
He didn't use it.
What did he take, a liter?
He didn't use all the one that he took. Should have left me with my blood. What's that? Now we have to start making another one, and they threw it away. No, it's not fair.
Okay, Pole.
Okay.
Pole. So after doing that dot, what did he tell you?
I don't have malaria. I don't have all those other hemoglobin things they were talking about. I have a bacterial something. The onstart of some kind of infection.
You have a bacteria something or the other, isn't it?
I may have to take my tonsils out. I get affected too often.
Modern medical practices. You don't need to. No, you do not.
They can neutralize your tonsils.
Me, anything surgery.
Keep them there.
They can divert them towards your nostrils.
Oh,
no,
wow.
I'm joking.
Cheers.
I'm joking.
Thank you.
Hey, pole lakini.
Niko poa.
Yeah, we wish you all the best.
Sandy.
It's Thursday. It's Justice Thursday. We're going to be having a justice conversation today. Mahakama Popote, enhancing equitable access to justice. That's a conversation we want to be having. You know, the judiciary has an ombudsman, and we've hosted him here before. The Honorable Kennedy Bidali is the judiciary ombudsman. He will be joining us at 7 a.m. to have this conversation about now equitable access to justice. Let's just remind you what the ombudsman is supposed to do. At 8 a.m. So hii mambo yote maandamano weka pause again. Watu bwana.
They're going to give us whiplash.
Give it like back and forth. Anyway, so this is apparently after the Kenya Kwanza side of the Bipartisan Talks Committee decided to talk to Adan Kainan, and he decided to recuse himself from that committee. Ni mimi ndio shida.
So.
Sinitoke basi. Now, the chairman of that side of the Kenya Kwanza Bipartisan Talks Committee, who is also the chairman of the National Assembly Justice and Legal Affairs Committee, who is also the MP for Tharaka, is called George Murugaro. He'll be joining us at 8 a.m. Let's understand. So this bipartisan dialogue, how long can this window remain open?
Sheesh.
And then at 9 a.m., you know, we keep talking about executive coach this. Everybody nowadays is executive coach.
Hi, the services.
What does it mean, executive coach? We'll be joined by two of them. One of them is called Michael Oyer. Michael Oyer is a media personality. He's been on KTN before and elsewhere. He will be joining us. He's a leadership coach and a former KTN anchor. And he'll be joined by Susan Gishara, who is the president-elect of ICF Kenya Board. They'll tell us about what ICF...
International Coaches Federation.
No.
Voila. There's a thing, eh?
Yeah, they have International Coaches Federation. She's the president-elect.
Okay.
So she'll be here. Both of them will be here. Let's tell us about this coaching story.
Sour.
Yeah, they'll come to coach us about coaching. 18 minutes after 6. Good morning. If you're online, let us know where you're doing this from. And after we take a look at the weather forecast, we will read out your name and your message of love and peace.
And may the 4th be with you.
Oh, that's too.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
This is 00 Direct, woman host, music by women, and only women guest.
If COVID could mutate and evolve 6 times over the last 2 years, how many versions of yourself have emerged in the last 2 years?
Do not, and you don't have to give anything to get ahead. All you have to do is give out and show out your talent. Catch 00 Direct every Saturday from 10 a.m. on Spice FM.
94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
This is one of the best ways to spend a Saturday.
All right, looking at cloudy conditions in Nairobi this morning. Highs of 24 and lows of 15. It's cloudy at 17 in Nakuru. Cloudy at 16 in Nyeri, and at 15 it's partly cloudy in Eldoret, going to highs of 24 and lows of 13. Mostly clear at 25 in Mombasa, highs of 30. And we'll see highs of 30 as well in Malindi, where it's clear at 26. At 20, it's mostly clear in Kisumu. 27 will be the high. And we'll see highs of 27 as well in Kakamega. At 18, it's cloudy in Kampala, highs of 26. And we'll see highs of 30 in a clear Dar es Salaam at 23. At 12 degrees, Johannesburg is cloudy, highs of 23. And we'll see highs of 32 in a clear Lagos at 27. At 24, it's cloudy in Kinshasa, highs of 32 today. Looking out into Beijing, 19 degrees and cloudy on Thursday afternoon. It's 10 degrees and cloudy in Paris and 9 degrees and cloudy in London. Looking into New York, Wednesday night is cloudy at 10, highs of 13 and lows of 8.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
Aya, fanya namna hiyo basi.
Aya, Tiriwa amesema ako locked. He can see us in the 16th century. Sababu hiyo photo ni black and white.
Hey, there's a photo of us.
It's beautiful.
I think I want my photos like this now.
I like that picture.
No, this black and white thing is beautiful.
I want my photos like this.
It's very nice. This picture.
It equalizes all of us. We are all of the same color. Hey, mambo of being the only.
Otherwise, we're on other earth tones normally.
No, this thing is beautiful.
So no. In fact, I'm going to frame this picture.
It's a very nice photo.
No, this one requires framing.
So no. Yeah.
When you framed, give us each a copy. Yeah?
I will, no problem. No, I will do it. You know me when I say I'll do something.
You will do it.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Right.
Shh.
Andrew
Franklin says, good morning from Bernard Estate. Is there power today, Bernard? Mandamano postponed? Who does this and what? Who does this and to what end? Who does what now? Mandamano itself? Postponing it? Ending it? What are you asking, Bernard? But more importantly, Bernard, do you have power this morning? Let's start there. Azimio calls off Mandamano Thursday. Playing games? Is it that you wanted Mandamano? Andrew. What's wrong? Talk to us.
Mandamano means many things to many people.
So no?
Isn't it just?
Okay, I understand.
Pole, Andrew.
John Mwagi says, good morning. A good decision by Azimio to call off demonstrations and give dialogue a chance. Okay. Locked in from Nax Vegas. What are those?
You don't know Nax Vegas?
Nakuru.
Like, duh.
Why is there Vegas? Why is there Vegas?
Why not?
Yep.
Okay, sawa. City, mbona kuku ya 500 hulala kwa nyumba na ng'ombe ya 50k nje? You specifically to answer this question. You.
I think it's size.
It's the size?
Because cuckoo doesn't occupy much space.
Okay. So cow, you can put many.
Cow where would you sleep if cow entered your one-roomed house?
If cow entered. Okay.
And cow is more resilient to the cold, blah, 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 etc.
Than cuckoo.
Than cow, than cuckoo.
Cuckoo tends to die from very, very many small things.
True.
Nisao basi. Amos Freeman says, good morning from Kimilili. Kidiga Danson is tuned into the show this morning. George Dungo says, good morning from Chambers on route Nyamira. Okay. Chambers, where is Chambers? Robert Mbogo is tuned in this morning. Hosea Kevin says he's tuned in from Siaya County. Naivasha well tuned in listening to the trio of musketeers. You know what a musketeer is? It's actually a gun-wielding individual. Did you know that?
Yes.
Musket is a gun.
Yes, those ones which you fire one, 5 minutes later you reload.
It's when it reaches its destination and it leaves you smoking.
And if you're not careful, it could actually shoot you.
Depending on which direction you're pointing it, of course. Vincent Okech is tuning from Nairobi. Odera Jr. is tuning from the Great Wall of Kino. Okay, where are our YouTubers this morning? Folks who are tuned in on YouTube, say hello. If the thing can come in 3, there we go. Love and peace be with Kenyans, Azaria says. I never miss a situation room. The room that bombs us with superior information. Ruto Helmaid, come down for peace, Allah. Watching from Texas in the USA. Also in Seattle, URV team. Good morning. Jamal Ayub says good morning. Now, from another Las Vegas, it's in Nevada this time. That's where Jacob is. Sir George Gashoire says good morning. Thank you very much for your wishes. Yeah, I'll be fine. Charles in Central Africa. I love this show. Please voice out ideas from the comment section. Yeah, what's we're doing? We're here, man. Good morning, CT Eric Ndu. Ednah.
Wait, usiharibu throat.
Oh, sorry. I have to shout out my girl. Good morning.
Contain yourself.
No, it's Ednah that makes me happy. Listening from Tehran in the Islamic Republic of Iran. Oh, okay. Owen Bosire now just randomly says that we should abolish religion and study from schools. All right. Okay. Good morning, everybody. Thanks for joining us today. Karibuni sana.
Okay. City? Do you like that?
Right. We are still in the country of Togo. These proverbs also. All right. The fish, seeing the water has dried up, struggles mightily in the mud.
yeah.
Can you have mud if the water is dry?
If it dries up, not completely dry.
It's drying up.
Yes.
It's drying.
The fish, seeing as the water is drying up,
struggles mightily
in the mud. But it's inevitable. What's going to happen next?
It's inevitable.
It's inevitable.
There's no option.
Kicks of a dying horse, basically.
This is kicks of a dying fish.
Somebody's asking what happened to your Twitter account. What did you do to it? UCTU.
I'm not certain. What was I supposed to do?
When's the last time you were on Twitter?
I think last week.
You sure?
Yes.
Okay. This fella can't seem to find you.
I very rarely comment.
But he has just tagged in there. CT, what happened to your Twitter account? At CT Muga.
She's found me.
It's okay.
If he wants me to reply, he should say, please reply.
I'm there something.
Then I'll reply.
DM.
Yes, I do have a Twitter account. I just don't respond. It's for
you
what's
listen.
happening. I listen.
You
yes.
listen on Twitter.
It's one of the options that Twitter gives you.
Okay. Sawa bwana.
Ruto University funding shocker. There's a major win for students from poor households as president opens a path for free college education, with only deserving cases getting graduated state funding to pursue a degree, diploma, and certificate courses. Boom. There you go. Now, it seems that threats work. So MCAs have decided. There was a meeting that they had yesterday. They were at the KICC for the whole day. And there were some resolutions that they came up with. Members of county assemblies eject devolution PS from their meeting, demanding the president or his deputy to attend. And they said, we are the ones who pass your budgets. So if people don't listen to us,
they pass the president's budget.
It's on page 9. I'll give you the details of that story later. Actually, I'll tell you that story. It'll be very interesting to see. But just so you know, the MCAs are not going to be left out of this party, they say. Why Azimio called off demos, all right. Inside the race to pick a new money man, the recruitment of a new CBK governor enters home stretch as the president patches up economic architecture. So let's see. Well done, Arsenal. You did something yesterday.
No, this was the day before yesterday.
Day before yesterday.
Yeah, it was Tuesday.
Okay. Closing ranks is what is on the Daily Nation. Hope at last. Rival camps allied to President William Ruto and Azimio Chief Raila Odinga yesterday struck a compromise on the bipartisan talks after Kenya Kwanza withdrew Jubilee's Aiden Kainan from the MPs committee, and the opposition side called off today's planned protests. The two sides also closed ranks on a proposal to amend the constitution to create the office of the leader of opposition. Oh, I can't forget that there was an economic survey 2023 came out yesterday. Both of these are carrying the results of that. 4.8% is what the GDP grew from in 2021. Okay. So there was a call to have Uhuru, Kalonzo Musyoka, Raila Odinga's pension and all of these other yummy favors that they get thereafter removed, and also that which has been paid to them refunded. Yes?
Yummy rights, not favors.
Yummy rights. Well, in this case, it looks like it was favors. Did you read the letter?
Yes.
In the way the letter was presented, it was like we're doing you a favor.
We're doing you this favor, man.
Yeah.
So, toe the line, behave, or else.
So now the or else came in the form of a letter, and the suggestion is being made that, first of all, these rights be pulled, and that the money they've been receiving the money they have received so far be refunded. That should be interesting. On the back page of The Nation is the new university funding model. It's going to give more cash to poor students.
How are they going to decide who's poor and who's not?
Well, they'll be categorized according to 4 levels of need: vulnerable, extremely needy, and less needy. It's along that thing of your LCDs and low income, middle income kind of thing that you like very much.
Hiya, let me tell you what's on the Business Daily. Salaries plunge in real terms for 3 consecutive years. This is data from that economic survey. Inflation wiped out 5.6% salary increase offered to the private sector workers last year, making it the 3rd year in a row when pay rises lagged behind the soaring cost of living. The findings of the annual economic survey by KNBS show average earnings for workers in the private sector recovered from the 2021 when it grew 2.6% and 3.6% in 2020. However, when adjusted for rising prices of inflation, wages fell by 2.7%. So, mnaongezewa mshahara, inflation inapanda, inakula hiyo mshahara.
Kama hujapata hata yo.
That is one headline. The other one is there's a company called House Consult which usually compiles the quarterly House Consult Index, telling you the property prices, the rent prices and all. Apparently, this place called Ruaka, land in Ruaka, touching tarmac or not, is more expensive than land in Runda, Karen, Langata. Forget those places.
Where is Ruaka?
Because of why?
You don't know where Ruaka is?
No, I just need to be sure. I think I have an idea where it is. But
Two Rivers Mall.
Yes.
Runda.
Two Rivers Mall.
Just you continue along that road.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Immediately you cross Two Rivers Mall, you're in Ruaka.
Yeah.
Nafu unaenda kwa banana.
Actually, that was the road to Nakuru, old road. We used to follow it.
You used to go like that?
Yes, used to go to Banana, Limuru.
They still do that sometimes.
The road still exists.
So, Ruaka, 1 acre of land in Ruaka, about 98.3 million shillings.
Get out of town.
An acre, not a tier 50 by 100. 1 acre, 98 million bob.
Today.
If you compare that to Runda is 88 million, 10 million cheaper. Ridgeway is 82 million. Donholm 76 million. Karen, what's Karen now? 65 million shillings. Unaweza pata 1 acre hapo. Na ni ngumu kupata mtu.
Karen is far.
Ngumu sana. Kitusuru 94 million. Langata 74.8 million. So Ruaka land prices.
And you know the thing I find fascinating about these prices, that the people who actually buy land at those prices.
Yes, no.
So which begs the question, where do they get the money?
Come on, Jewy city. Come on, Jewy.
I mean,
Where?
1 million shilling is a problem. Then somebody's spending 94 million shillings on an acre of land.
Just to buy the land.
And they not put anything on it.
No. Some even buy 2 acres.
Or 5.
Nah. Every once in a while, an amazing character comes along and buys 10 acres, and you're thinking, hey.
I'm sorry, I can 21,000.
Yes.
The star?
Star, top right-hand corner until green. High cost of living lowered value of 1,000 shillings to 550 shillings in 2022. Data.
High cost of living lowered value of what?
1,000 shillings. You know that note, 1,000 shillings. What it could now buy you was 550 shillings worth.
Sorry, what? I'm sorry, I actually didn't hear you. No, for real, I didn't hear.
Okay.
Please, now.
1,000 shillings. 1,000. Okay? 2022, what it could buy you was actually worth 550 shillings. Meaning...
So in 2022, you went with 1,000 bob.
The value of what you'd get was what previously you would get for 500 shillings.
Okay.
So 50% devaluation. That's essentially telling you.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, you could argue it's 45%, but it's actually 50% devaluation.
Okay.
Yes.
No,
it's terrible.
That's data. Now, data. You know that thing called data? Data has shown.
Okay.
But I'll tell you the story later. Then, bang in the middle of there's this picture. Remember there were these 6 children who passed away in a horrific road accident around Naivasha?
Yes, on the way
from
home.
Mbithi Secondary School? Yes, well, they were being buried. And there's a picture of a grandmother, a mother, and a small child viewing them. Here, there's a picture.
Oh, yeah.
And as usual, there is a call for road safety as 6 Mbithi Secondary School children are buried.
Oh, yeah.
Very sad.
Okay. Azimio dares Ruto on Uhuru Raila perks. Odinga allies trash motion as illegal. Tells President Lieutenants to bring it on. Page 6. You know, this politics of ours can be very childish. I'm repeating this word again. We have serious problems in the country, and we're having this discussion. Meaning it's a back and forth and back and forth and back and forth and back
childish.
and forth. It is absolutely
and
childish.
there are things we can be doing.
And somehow people think it's a good thing that they're doing. What good thing?
Childish.
These remunerations, these things are, it's not a favor. It's not something that you wake up in the morning or in the middle of the night or whatever it is that people do and you decide. No. It is a right that somebody has. It's like saying that someone is telling the MPs, we are going to threaten you. This pension that you are supposed to receive, you're not going to get if you don't do this, if you don't vote this and this. Nonsense. It is their right. Or it's like telling someone, when it comes to the end of the month, because you've been talking carelessly about or so and so and so, you're not getting your salary. What utter nonsense. And then it's something that people actually get involved in talking about, and we're supposed to be paying attention to this.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
No.
They shut up, but we also don't give them any salary.
No, it's us who even...
24 minutes to 7. Let's take this break. Tell us what the roads are looking like.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
All right. Movement to Mombasa this morning means that if you're coming to the Standard Group, where we are, that the roadworks having started early this morning and even as of yesterday means that you're going to go ahead just a bit. If you miss the turn, you're going to find yourself in Mombasa. But it's going to come slow as you're outbound on Mombasa Road because of the road work. So you want to avoid it. There's an enterprise option if you then come out at General Motors and then go on your merry way. Just note that traffic is because of road works. On the Thika Superhighway, we're looking at some traffic coming in through Muthaiga Square. Kiambu Road is not looking too bad right about now. It's looking good coming out of Westlands. We shouldn't have an issue. On the Uhuru Highway, we will see some traffic today because of the road works. Yesterday was an absolute mess. We're likely to be in day 2 of mess today. So let's just plan ahead for that. The Southern Bypass is saying use me because there's an option to get into the city and avoid that traffic that is there. Let's take a look, see in about half hour and see what it looks like. Spice of MKE on Twitter.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
Okay, now MCAs had what they called their
thingy-magic
inaugural national consultative talks. So all MCAs from the country met at KICC yesterday, and there were some things that they came up with. One of them is that they vowed to reject budget if their pay is not hiked. So, national issues.
Okay.
Members of county assemblies have threatened to shoot down budgets in their respective devolved units if they do not get a salary increment. At the same time, the ward representatives ejected Devolution Principal Secretary Teresia Mbaika from the inaugural National MCAs Consultative Forum in Nairobi yesterday, saying that their issues can only be addressed by President William Ruto and his deputy Rigathi Gachagua. We are not technocrats. We want politicians to listen to their fellow politicians. We want the deputy president. The president said it is a bottom up, and we are at the bottom.
We're at the bottom.
Yeah. The bottom is meeting. Now we can have the top representatives, according to Naivasha East MP Stanley Karanja. The MCA said that what they earn is far below what they're entitled to as waheshimiwa to take home. MCAs have been given power. We have the power to approve budgets and equally to reject budgets. There's no purpose of power if you can't utilize it. You have power and you are being mistreated. Does that make sense? According to Kipruto Kimosop, the Mochongoi Ward MCA. Now, you ask yourself, what is this money that is causing?
What do they want?
What is it? They earn a gross salary of 144,375 shillings, which includes a basic salary of 86,625, a house allowance of 45,000 shillings, and a salary market adjustment of 12,750. However, they argue the salary adjustments to the office have been scaled downward from 20 to 13, leaving MCAs unable to meet some of the demands of their constituents. 2013, when the MCAs took office, the basic salary was 123,700, with all those other things included, right? Their basic was now brought down to 86,000. Now, they are saying that what they want to earn is 400,000 shillings.
Okay.
So 3 times what they earn now. And by way of communication, if you don't give them this money, they will not approve your budget. So you choose. You want things to happen in the country?
You listen to us.
Listen to us.
So basically what's happening here is, you see, there's something called the County Assemblies Forum. And we hosted their chairman here once. And the other day we hosted the Ngara MCA, who is the treasurer of the County Assemblies Forum.
Yeah.
That forum brings together MCAs plus speakers
Of the county assemblies.
MCAs are not happy with the County Assemblies Forum. They feel these speaker people, because they're the ones who are in the leadership of this thing, are not addressing our issues. They are only talking about colorful things. Ile mambo ambayo inahusu mwananchi wa kawaida hawaongelelei. So they formed their own parallel thing. This is an MCS thing that it does not have speakers.
No.
It is just for the 2,200 MCAs countrywide. Whether it gains momentum, let us see. Whether now this particular body can then have the political might that they want to have. And then can they have those negotiations that they want to have? Because this one is about welfare of MCA. Ile kitu inaingia kwa mfuko. It's going to be an interesting one.
Very, very interesting to see.
Itakuwa interesting. As we talk about mambo ya mfuko, yesterday, in the afternoon going into the evening, the president was having a function at State House where he was unveiling the new model for university funding. President William Ruto yesterday announced a new funding model for universities and technical and vocational education and training, that's TVET institutions, that will see students from needy households get more government support than those from well-off families. Okay? Well-off versus needy. He clarified that the model will not raise the fees for the students. The model incorporates funding of higher education through government grants, student loans, and household contributions. It also sees the government obligation for funding university courses drop from 80% to a maximum of 53%. Remember, that's what we were having a conversation here. The obligation for government has been, you'll fund up to 80%. The government has actually been doing about 42%. Now they have dropped that 80 to 53%. If at 80 you are at 42, where will you be when it's at 50? If 80 is the obligation and 42 is the reality, if you reduce the obligation from 80 to 53, what will the reality be?
You remove some 17%.
Will it go to... Okay, anyway. However, he announced increased funding that will see the Ministry of Education's budget for the higher education sector rise from 54 million to 84 billion. In this funding, university education has been allocated 53 billion, up from 44 billion, and HELB gets 31 billion, more than 3 times the 10 billion that is in the current budget. So HELB is getting more money, universities are getting more money, and TVETs are getting more money.
According to this plan?
According to the plan.
Okay.
The big issue, though, is about the students' funding. The differentiated unit cost is coming to an end, and we are switching into what Ruto called student-centered model. The announcement opens the door for the process of admitting 2022 KCSE candidates whose fate has been in limbo awaiting the resourcing or the resolution of this model. So, this is what he says. Now we'll have 4 categories of students. The categories of students will come from well-off to the very needy. Okay, graduated like that. Chiefs will be used to identify those who are needy, very needy,
less needy, not just needy.
Yes, like that. And those who are very, very needy will get more support. And those who are classified as not needy will have to, it means that the government is not putting capitation into them.
Yeah.
You pay for your fee.
Yeah.
Okay? Fee haipandi, lakini wewe utalipa yote.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
This is going to be a bit tricky in the implementation of it, in the identification of the need for where do you fall, in what category do you fall. Already we have issues with secondary school bursaries, where we see needy, bright children staying at home beyond a term because they were just not captured in any of the many bursaries that are there. Now imagine this in university. You've been admitted to university and you are not in that list of the needy.
How many cases have we had, even in the studio, where, or in the media, where the plight of these students are highlighted? Then some well-wisher comes along and says, excuse me, just give me the contact. I would like to assist this.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, and these are students who are not just deserving, but they've done very well. Now, the places they come from, they are all these bursary and all these other financial aid systems that are supposed to capture them, and they don't. Okay?
Yep.
So how then are we saying that a new one is going to achieve what the previous ones did not?
It's going to be a very tricky one. Because you see, currently what we have is you're admitted to university, the government is paying some amount for the differentiated unit cost, and then HELB gives you the loan to match the rest. Okay? Plus also your upkeep. Now, take this example. For example, expensive programs like Bachelor of Dentistry, it costs 720,000 shillings, yes, per year to train a student, a Bachelor of Dentistry student.
Okay.
The government will put in a maximum of 381,600. The student will get a loan of 288,000. The rest, 50,400, the student will have to pay from pocket.
This is the student who is needy. They still have to find 50k a year.
Yes. Okay.
They didn't have money to begin with.
This is it.
The cheapest course is a Bachelor of Arts degree. The government will pay a maximum of 76,320. Students gets a loan of 57,600, and the household pays 10,080 per year. This is students from needy households. They will receive government scholarship of up to 53% and a HELB loan of 40%, and then households paying the remaining. Those are the needy ones. Kila mtu ajilipie kakitu.
So there's no situation whereby your full fee is taken care of by government.
No, or by HELB.
Or by HELB.
Yeah.
You need to make a payment of some amount. Now, depending on your level of need,
yeah,
that is what determines how much you will pay per year.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you can imagine if a needy household will be looking for 50,400 every year.
Every year.
Now, graduate go up. Okay? It means that if you are classified as not needy, 720 you pay full.
Yeah.
Okay? Now, how do we first of all, the simplest way of identifying not needy? You've come from which private school?
You're not needy.
Remember, the president has actually said, look, you're taking your child to private school. How much are you paying in that private school? Clearly, you can afford to take your child to university. If you've been paying fees of 300 Gs
without you knowing
and above, you know.
I don't know, man.
In a private school, surely you should be able to pay.
For you, just like the example that CT gave today. Perhaps it's not you and your family, or you're saying let that person continue.
Let somebody else continue.
That's why. Maybe there will be an index with factors that then determine, because like now
in this country,
okay, so
index.
Just trying to be hoity-toity.
If it was not mentioned yesterday that this is the index, if we are saying chiefs,
this is the method that we'll use to select needy,
chiefs will
needy.
identify the needy.
Ooh.
Chiefs will identify the
Chiefs will identify their relatives and the people who have gone to see them at night. Okay?
Yes.
You know this one, there's no need to mollycoddle this one.
There really isn't. I'm sorry. I tried, but I got nothing. Sorry.
Coming up with a new scheme, when you already have a scheme, always points to trying to improve something or trying to bring about a solution to a problem that exists. But the problem isn't with these things, it's not even the system. No. When Kenyans manage this system, something is going to go wrong because we are going to do the things that we think we ought to do as opposed to what we know we ought to do. Okay? Someone will wait to be bribed so that he can give someone a bursary. The craziest of things will happen. Even with this new system.
Yeah.
So the very people whom we want to help will not receive the assistance.
Yeah.
Sad but true.
Okay.
Boy.
I can this to city.
Aisuru. Now the other day, well, let me be specific. Not the other day, yesterday, our president met with the Prime Minister of Japan. The Prime Minister of Japan is on a tour of Africa, visiting several countries. He had come from Ghana, came to Kenya. From there, I think he was going to go to Mozambique, if I'm not wrong. Okay. Now, one of the things there are several things that they wanted to strengthen. They wanted to strengthen the coordination of regional and international affairs, promote a new plan for FOIP using the opportunity of the 60th anniversary of the establishment of diplomatic relations, meaning Japan has had diplomatic relations with Kenya for 60 years. That's a long time. And also to promote African growth in business, startups, and green fields. Okay? Yes, now this gentleman, the Prime Minister, is called Prime Minister Kishida. It's his first time to actually come to this country. He's been Prime Minister for 2 years now.
Okay.
It's already been 2 years?
It's 2 years.
What?
It's 2 years, yes.
Yeah.
Time goes fast, doesn't it?
Very.
It does.
Since that, they're shooting.
Exactly. And this year is when Japan celebrates again its 60th anniversary, 60th year of the diplomatic relationships with Kenya and a long-standing relationship of mutual benefit with the country of Kenya. So this is an important year for both Kenya and Japan. Yes.
All right.
Yeah. 2 years actually
has gone by like that.
Yeah. Because I remember the news of the shooting of anyway, Shinzo.
Yeah, it has taken some. Has gone by quickly.
Kenya and Japan 60 years cooperation.
60 years. 60
partnership.
Years of partnership.
Of partnership and
That's when
cooperation.
they opened the embassy. 60. That's a long time.
That's Kenya. We are celebrating 60 years.
Yeah, that's as long as
independence.
Kenya has been independent.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Meaning as soon as we got independence,
Japan was holding a hand.
Japan was with us. And you can see, remember, Japan built us a university from the ground up. This JKUAT, we call JKUAT, okay? JKUAT was a Japanese project. If you go to the Kenya Medical Research Institute, very many of the structures you find within that particular institute were put up by Japanese, JICA as they call it.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, many of the bridges that you know, you've heard me say this many times. As someone who grew up on the coast, I see the significance. You're talking about the bridge in the Sabaki River. You're talking about the bridge in Kilifi. You're talking about the bridge in Mtwapa. You're talking about the bridge in Mombasa. All those things were put up by the Japanese. And many, many, many other things.
What used to happen before?
Let's start with Mombasa.
If you're living, so let's say that you've left Mombasa Island, you're crossing over at Nyeri.
There was a floating bridge.
There was like a floating bridge.
Yes, it used to dance as you went around it. And I think one vehicle at a time. Okay?
So there's a marshal.
Yes, exactly.
All right.
So then, Kilifi, there was a ferry.
So you drive up, let's first get to Mtwapa.
Mtwapa?
Yes.
There was like a similar bridge, but same thing. One vehicle, sort of like one vehicle passes, and then another one waits, and another one passes, that sort of thing. Not much traffic. Not the bridge you see here, which is dual carriageway.
Then you go to Kilifi.
Ferry. There was no bridge. Kilifi, ferry.
Well,
ferry. You wait for it, and it was one ferry. So if something happened on that ferry, well, something has happened. Well, you could leave your car.
So crossing that creek where we were at when we
No. You don't cross that creek.
So it wasn't from that creek.
No, the crossing was a little lower down. Yes, by ferry. You can actually pass you can see it even now. That's where you boarded the ferry and you took your cross.
How long did it take on this ferry?
Half an hour, I think.
And there's only one? You have to wait for it to come back?
Yeah, back and forth usually. When it went to the other side, you could wait for it to come back. Same, you waited for it, you saw it.
Oh, voila.
See, like now, you need to cross the Likoni ferry to understand it.
Yeah.
When a bridge is built, it will be a story. Oh, there used to be a ferry. Or if you're going to Mtongwe, now there is a bridge. You can actually walk across. Before, there was no such bridge.
Yeah.
Yes. Sabaki now, that was a completely different story.
Yeah.
Completely different story. If it rained, oh, God Almighty.
It's over.
No, no movement.
Kuisha.
Absolutely no movement. If the bus was on the other side of the river, it would stay there. The ones on this side would stay exactly where they were. Is that crazy?
Crazy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's look at the headlines from the Economic Survey 2023. New jobs dropped by 108,300 as economic growth slowed down. 2,000 ECDEs, CT, remember what you were trying to remember the other day, shut down as a number of learners surge.
Number of learners surge, ECDs shut down.
Yes. I want to go into the details of that. More Kenyans contributed to pension plans. Looking at that, crime rose by 8.4% countrywide. Petroleum import bill jumps 80% on high prices. And the number of men taking up vasectomy more than doubles. Okay? Childbearing then became a burden on the economic situation of most units in society. But let's look at these ECDs. More than 2,000 early childhood development education centers were shut down last year, even as more pupils enrolled into pre-primary, 1 and 2 across the country. Most of the closed ECDCs were public, while about 777 of them were private, the ones that shut. The survey also shows that at least 190 private primary schools stopped operations, even as 65 more public primary schools were registered. It notes that the number of secondary schools rose by 0.2%, recording an increase to both private and public secondary schools. While many ECDEs were shut down, however, the survey noted an increase in the numbers of students who enrolled into institutions. It noted that in primary schools, while the number of pupils continued to grow, the number of teachers in public primary schools declined last year. I would be very interested to note if this survey gave the reasons why. Why is this happening? Because the management and control of these centers then became impossible, or what? But it was just listing and doesn't tell us why this happened. I'd be very interested to note why this was the case. Those are the headlines coming out of the Economic Survey 2023. Yeah.
It's trying to paint some rosy picture.
Well, things are okay. It's telling you that things are okay, more or less. That things are all right.
That, well, despite everything else, we shall soldier on. And we are going to overcome. And we will come out as victorious. And all those other stories, short stories.
These and other short stories.
Antonio Guterres, the UN Secretary General, has been in the country. And he was addressing journalists in Nairobi yesterday. He was talking about the issue of Sudan and calling for Sudan's ceasefire. And we are seeing African leadership working to solve the African problems. I salute Kenya's leadership in the peace process in the DRC. Last month he visited Somalia, where he saw important progress. Anyway, all these many things that he has said. The thing is, whatever is happening in Sudan is really, really, really not good. Within a very short time, so many people dead, so many people being evacuated and leaving the country. And you can imagine so many people who would like to leave, but cannot leave. They are far from Khartoum. They cannot access Khartoum. It's just sad. Anyway, good morning, 8-7 a.m.
Spice up your life.
Good morning, this is News. I'm Dennis Aseto. It is now official that the bipartisan talks will resume after Azimio called off the planned demonstration scheduled for today following the decision by the Kenya Kwanza to remove Elders Member of Parliament Ednah from the team leading the talks today. The chairman of the negotiation committee, George Murgaro of Kenya Kwanza, and Otiende Molo of Azimio are expected to meet to give direction on how the negotiations will proceed. Kenya Kwanza has now appointed the Member of Parliament for Saku Didoraso to replace Kainan, saying it is ready to continue with the negotiations to end the current tension.
We have therefore quickly consulted and agreed to nominate the Honorable Dido Raso, Member of Parliament for Saku constituency, to replace the Honorable Kainan so that these talks can resume.
And we have been so accommodative, bending backwards, listening to them. We are yet to bring any of our issues, and that is why we have said, in the interest of the nation, we always will bend backwards.
Honorable Kainan, what you have done is to show great statesmanship for our country. The love you have, the commitment you have, as far as Kenya is concerned, and as we have kept on saying every time, Kenya is greater than all of us.
Speaking after the change, Kainan said that he himself agreed to withdraw after long consultation, saying that he would not like to be used as an excuse if the negotiations do not succeed. The minority leader in the National Assembly, Opiyo Ndai, welcomed the move by Kenya Kwanza, saying he is still a member of Azimio as Jubilee has not withdrawn from the coalition. In addition, Ndai has asked Kenya Kwanza to stop interfering with Azimio's leadership if it wants the talks to continue.
The leadership of the Azimio La Umoja One Kenya Coalition Party met and agreed to once more suspend the mass protests that we had earlier scheduled to continue. We will not hesitate to resume the mass action at the slightest indication of lack of goodwill and honesty on the Kenya Kwanza side.
The Deputy Minority Whip in the National Assembly, Sabina Chege, will today know her fate on whether she will be dismissed from the post or not. Speaker of the National Assembly, Moses Wetangula, will issue a ruling following a request that was submitted by the Azimio Coalition Party that Chege be removed for violating party rules. Wetangula yesterday said he will give the communication today after the minority wing raised their concerns over delayed communication of the issue at hand. The minority leader in the National Assembly, Opiyo Ndai, claimed that the Speaker ignored Azimio's written notification of its intentions to change the minority leadership positions in the August House.
It is not the duty of the majority coalition, nor is it the duty of the Speaker to decide for us who is our whip or deputy whip. And that message must go home clear and loud, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, it is now a month. It's now a month since I did write to you. It's now a month. And therefore that delay definitely means that our side is incapacitated.
There has been tension as to whether Chege should be removed given the fact that she is supporting Kenya Kwanza. Jubilee Secretary General Jeremiah Kioni suggested that Sabina's position be filled by Mark Mwenje or Garissa woman representative Amina Ugdon Kuno. There are other leaders who are proposing the position be given to Samburu West MP Naisura Lesuda. Lesuda was a member of Jubilee, then moved to Kanu before the last general election. Interior CS Kithure Kindiki is among top government officials expected to appear before a Senate ad hoc committee investigating the circumstances that led to the deaths of over 110 people in Shakahola, Kilifi County. The committee that has 90 days to report back to the House is set to start its public hearings next week, with the date with CS Kindiki, Attorney General Justin Muturi, and Registrar of Societies in the Office of the Attorney General. Among the issues the committee will seek to establish from the officers include the registration status of religious organizations and the mitigation measures of the current case and regulations, if any, in use to control religious entities and their activities. Now, UNICEF Executive Director Catherine Russell has lauded the government of Kenya for their renewed support to incoming refugees and the local communities who are themselves affected by drought, according to Russell. UNICEF has appealed for $759 million to provide life-saving support to 16.6 million people, including 12.2 million children in Ethiopia, Kenya, and Somalia. This is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseto. Good morning.
Spice FM, Nakuru.
In and outbound traffic, really busy on Jogo Road. It's going to go off then towards Lusaka Road, and other traffic going towards Landis, all coming together at Kamkunji at the roundabouts. Uhuru Highway is pretty busy as you're going out through the Nyeri roundabout. We'll see some traffic that then continues coming off into the city and then out towards Westlands. It's busy coming off the Thika Superhighway. We're looking at just past the Utali Drift. Traffic is going to take you all the way into the city. Limuru Road is also pretty busy. Probably see more of that later. All right, North Airport Road is busy as well. It's going to connect with Outer Ring and traffic that comes then towards the Eastern Bypass. It's busy on Mombasa Road today. In outbound traffic is slowed down some because of the construction taking place. Let's see what happens in a short while. Are you stuck anywhere? Let us know and we'll spread the word and find a better route. Spice FM KE on Twitter.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latif, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is The Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Good morning. Welcome to the second hour of The Situation Room. We are now live on Spice FM, on YouTube, on Facebook, and on KTN Home as well. A very good morning to you. Welcome to Thursday. It's the 4th of May, 2023.
May the 4th be with you.
Very good. And it's also the day that we remind you to go to Kilifi. Now there's a bridge that was built with support from the Japanese government as we celebrate 60 years of, Japan cooperation in Kenya. As City was telling us, long time ago.
As I used to do.
As in once upon a time.
Yeah. As you got into Kilifi, you would get to Kilifi and first board a ferry to access Kilifi.
Yes, you would.
Now there's a bridge.
Yes, there was a rickety ferry.
Imagine.
Now, if the ferry wasn't working, well, you'd have to leave your car on this side of the road, but there were boats that could take you across.
What? So you'd get to Mombasa, then first of all have to weave your way into the island. Okay, if you just get into the island, do the Makupa Causeway, and then get out of there, use the rickety floating bridge at Nyeri.
Yes.
Cross.
Yes.
Go, get to Mtwapa. Do what?
There's a bridge.
Oh, there's a bridge.
Yeah, there's a
Not
bridge.
a log that you balance across.
No, there's a bridge.
There's like a bridge.
There's
Okay.
a bridge.
A bridge, cross the bridge.
Yes.
Get to
Kilifi. Ferry. Yes.
And to imagine now there are bridges.
Now, if you wanted to go across the Sabaki River, that is a completely different story. Yes. But if you look at those bridges that were put up by the Japanese government, it didn't just open up the coast to other parts of the country, but it is one of the things that enhance tourism enormously. Because, again, you take it for granted that you can actually just drive from Mombasa, get to Kilifi, keep moving, get to Sabaki, keep going. You take it for granted because the bridges are now there.
Yes. And now, actually, they're expanding the road from Mombasa to Kilifi into dual carriageway.
Yes, they are.
Now you can imagine if you bought a property at Vipingo. It's just Mombasa Vipingo like this.
The value. Remember there was this
Vipingo, Watamu, Vipingo, Malindi, Vipingo, Cross. Go to Shakahola if you want to visit.
Wow.
From Vipingo. Very easy. Right? And Centum Real Estate have taken up that entire former Rare Vipingo plantation. Now it's Vipingo development, and they are putting various things, residential, commercial, industrial. Let's deal with the residential. They're saying, come, we are already building properties here. We have the Awali, and these are very beautiful houses and homes at the Palm Ridge. Phase 2 is going on at Palm Ridge. They are also saying you can actually come and buy an apartment from as low as 1.98 million shillings in Palm Ridge Phase 2 in Vipingo. Come and buy, and we'll show you how to actually get it done. Only 10% deposit. That's as low as 198,000 shillings. And then the rest, malipo pole pole as your house comes up. 0740 400 215 is the number to call, or you can SMS Vipingo and send that message to 22365. That's 22365. The word Vipingo. It's Thursday. It's Justice Thursday conversations that we have every Thursday, and today we are joined by the Honorable Kennedy Bidali. He's back in the studio. He's been here before. He is from the Office of the Judiciary Ombudsman. The Honorable Bidali, good morning.
Good morning.
Good to have you again. Karibu sana.
Asante.
You'll tell us about the Ombudsman and what you've been doing since the last time you're here. How many people are accessing the Ombudsman's office? Because we are talking about enhancing equitable access to justice. But CT has the day's proverb from Togo.
Yes, our proverbs for the whole of this week come from the country of Togo. Now, our week ends tomorrow. Tomorrow will be the final day of our travels through the proverb world of the Togolese. The fish, seeing the water is drying up, struggles mightily in the mud.
Say that again, CT.
The fish, seeing the water is drying up, struggles mightily in the mud. Now, let me say this. Some of these proverbs, when I read them, the thing that occurs to me, I think, is the meaning or that was purposed or intended is lost in translation. Yes. But more importantly, I know of fish that when the water dries up, actually nestle in mud and they live in that mud. Yes. They don't die. They live in that mud. Now, if you come from my neck of the woods, you will know of such a fish. So instead of people fishing it, people dig out those fish.
What's it called?
I see Mr. Bidali is actually nodding.
What is familiar. What is the fish called?
Mudfish.
Bidali?
It's a mudfish.
Okay, no, in the Luo.
Try.
No idea.
Kamongo.
Kamongo is mudfish.
There are those who think it is langfish, but yes.
That's it, huh? Bidali, what do you think this proverb is saying?
Actually, I was learning a lot from City about it. And even the name Kamongo, I didn't know that was mudfish. But I've used it for a long time. From this proverb, I mean, this is a fish that adapts to its environment and is able to survive even when the natural environment changes. And I think I learned a lot about that in our own lives. How do we adapt and change when the situation requires us that we change?
You're seeing the water is drying up. You struggle in the mud. You don't just sit back and like, okay, now the water is gone. No, okay, let me just die.
By the way, if you notice something about fish, the process of surviving in water involves movement. Fish is always moving. They're never stationary. So when the water dries up, that struggle that we human beings look at, it's the fish doing what it normally does.
It's moving.
It's moving. It's even when you get a fish out of water, it does the same thing. It struggles. But that's what it does when it's in water. If you look at the movement, it's the same movement that they have when they're in water.
Okay. Honorable Bidali, welcome. There are people who may not know or understand the reason why we need to have an ombudsman's office in the judiciary. So introduce us to that office again.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for having me once again. The Ombuds is an office that has its historical background in the Scandinavian countries. It's an administrator, an office of an administrator who would deal with administrative bottlenecks. Of course, it has evolved over time. And for the judiciary, it's an office that receives, processes, and deals with complaints against all employees of the judiciary. But not just complaints. We also receive compliments. We look into administrative bottlenecks and propose solutions. We also go between the users and the administrators, meeting both to try and find easier ways to make sure that justice is accessed easily and faster. Yeah.
Sounds like for you to do your work, you need to be activated by somebody raising an issue with the office of the Ombudsman. If there are no issues being raised, then you sit pretty.
Not necessarily. Yes, we do have a wing that deals with complaints, but we also have another section that deals with compliance. There are lots of rules, regulations, manuals, which have to be adhered to. And part of what we do is to ensure adherence to those regulations. So that's not activated by a complaint.
Okay. So we're looking at places where people can bring issues to as the Ombudsman. What is the nature of some of these complaints that come to your desk? I think it informs then further on who can come. So what is the nature of some that you've seen?
Yeah, so we have several different kinds of, we've categorized them into services. As you would expect, the major source of complaint is on delay.
Okay.
Delay in accessing justice, delay in having a case heard, delay in having a judgment delivered, delay in having a decree issued after judgment is delivered. So it cuts across the entire justice process, from the moment you file a suit to the moment the case is finalized. So that's the majority of the complaints that we receive. And how do we resolve them? We look in, sometimes, unfortunately, some of them fall through the cracks. You filed a case 8 years ago, a date was given. For some reason or another, you didn't attend court, and nobody took action after that. So we try to revive those cases. At least at this time, we have a case track system. So any matter that has no position, we are able to tell from headquarters and activate the court stations to deal with it. So that really delays is the major complaint that we deal with. Of course, there are many others. There are instances where files are not availed on time. Some people report them as lost. But it's because of the delays within the registries. There are complaints about a few incidents of misconduct. Unfortunately, there are brokers sometimes who may come in and pose as judiciary employees, and we deal with those.
I'd like you to explain this one to me. What would a broker do? I know what a broker would do if I wanted to buy land, but in the judicial system, where does a broker fit in? What are they brokering?
Yeah, unfortunately, they would just come in, prey on naive litigants. For instance, bail is a right guaranteed by the Constitution.
Yes.
But not everyone has read that and understands that. So the broker would now come in to tell you that they can facilitate bail. But it is a right. They have, of course, it doesn't happen to all. They carefully pick their victims and select those who they think may not understand the laws.
Who look vulnerable.
Yeah.
The issue of complaints, because you're saying many complaints that come in are about delays. When you look back, what is the main cause for these delays? What is it? Is it an institutional issue? Is it a capacity issue? Is it a bottlenecks issue? What is it that would lead to so many delays, such that many of the things that you have to deal with is somebody coming to say, my matter is not being resolved as fast as I expected it to?
Yeah, there are a variety of causes. Let me start with the apex court, the appellate courts. Until recently, when judges were sworn in, there was a shortage. They ought to be at 30 full capacity. I think there was a time there were only 17 judges in that court. The caseload has not changed, but the numbers are reduced by half. Naturally, there's going to be a delay in the High Court. So this is the same situation that was in the... This was in the Court of Appeal. In the High Court, it's the same. It's a capacity issue. Magistracy too, it's a capacity issue. I think you must have seen in the papers about 2 weeks ago an advertisement for 60 additional judicial officers. This information is driven by data. How many judicial officers do we need on the ground? They are needed as soon as yesterday. And that's why I think the Commission is fast-tracking the process of hiring and recruitment. But other than capacity, we also had a few systemic issues. Judiciary was by far and large manual. So you can imagine you have this very lengthy case, you appear before a judge or magistrate, and the proceedings have to be taken down by hand. That's time consuming, it's tiring for the magistrate, it's tiring for the judge. If you now go to Milimani, quite a few courts will actually run their session when the judicial officer does not have a pen. So that makes the process faster. Yeah.
But then there's a capacity issue, there's an institutional issue. Is there a process issue? Because not everybody who had a case lodged before the Court of Appeal in 2020 is complaining. Not all cases that were lodged in 2020 are delayed. So are there instances where you find maybe there's a misprioritization of cases, or maybe there's, I don't know, in terms of judging and prioritizing cases, some judicial officers or the registry misses out on some issues?
I don't think that I would say that they are process issues. They are legal requirements. For instance, if you're filing a simple claim for a personal injury, you have to file a pleading and then serve the other side, wait for a couple of days. Once they respond to it, again, you have to wait for a couple of days before you go for what they call directions and so on and so forth. So, and this is the requirement of the civil procedure. So as far as those requirements are concerned, really it's not about process. It's about compliance with the law. But it's not all lost. You've heard of the small claims court. Essentially, although it has certain limitations because of pecuniary jurisdiction, nothing more than 1 million. However, you realize that the timelines in that court are very short, from the date of filing to the date of judgment. And this is sort of a fast-tracked civil suit because there is recognition that in the main courts, there are far more processes to be adhered to, and the timelines are longer. But in the small claims court, you realize that you could actually have a judgment 60 days from the date of filing.
Okay. Do you find it a challenge, though, then straddling between the expectations of the users who may come to complain and the reality on the ground in terms of the judiciary, because of some things that you've spoken about now, the need for more judicial officers, the time that caseloads take, brokers who come and mess things up? So here you are saying you know what users are complaining about. However, being on the inside, as it were, you see the challenges. So how then do you balance between the two?
Yeah, really, brokers is a very minor issue.
Yeah.
We really don't have a problem with that. In many courts, if and when they appear, they are dealt with. And importantly, is the online system of filing cases in several courts. And when you're filing online from the comfort of your house, where does the broker come in?
Yeah, sure.
We are sort of locking out that segment. For the challenges that the expectations, you talked about the expectations of our users. As you would expect, if you appeared before court today, you would want your judgment tomorrow.
Yeah.
So the expectation is that case will be fast-tracked. It will be heard very quickly. But it's not always possible because of the capacity issues, and in the big cities because of the numbers. And this is why you see, we had told you about this Mahakama Popote initiative. It's partly to deal with that bottleneck of capacity within the major cities and the lack of sufficient numbers.
Yeah. Okay. So another issue that has crept up quite heavily in the past few years has been that of lawyers, attorneys who represent individuals obtaining money from them and then not, number one, filing their cases, not going ahead to do what they should be doing, as well as receiving rewards on their behalf and then running away with them. Does that come to your desk?
No. For the Judiciary Ombudsman, really you have to be an employee of the judiciary. But there's a very elaborate process to deal with the issue you're raising through the Advocates Complaints Commission. They have a disciplinary council. Those issues are taken to that body, the LSK.
While we're on that same topic, there is, for lack of a better expression, the term that is often used is ambulance chasing. Lawyers who present themselves as acting for people who are involved in accidents of one nature or the other. And along these lines of seeking justice, many complaints arise. Do these complaints arrive at your desk?
No. Once again, that's to do with advocates. They're not judiciary employees. And ambulance chasing, really, it's the term as we know it, is where there's an accident and there are lots of people struggling to be the ones representing the victims in that accident. That's how they coined it. That after an accident, there should be an ambulance to take people to hospital. Behind the ambulance,
the
lawyer. So those are not employees of the judiciary.
Those go to the LSK.
Those go to the Law Society.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, if indeed a case went before a judge of a similar nature, I'm still on this matter of ambulance chasing, and one felt that the judgment that was pronounced did not suit their purposes, would they then come to you or to your office?
No. If in the event of being dissatisfied by a decision of a court, the Constitution, our laws provide for the perfect solution, the appellate court process, and that's the only way. No merit-based complaint comes to the Judiciary Ombudsman's office, because those, if you're aggrieved, then you have to appeal. If a court pronounces itself on a decision and gives the reasons why, really it's the only way is through the appellate process. We deal with it if, for instance, the law provides that judgments shall be delivered in 60 days. In the small claims court, it's probably shorter. And then that does not happen without an explanation.
Then it comes to you.
Because even when the judgment delays, the law provides for leeway. The judicial officer, judge, can render an explanation and deal with it. But if none is forthcoming, then that becomes administrative.
Okay. Now let me ask this question, because it has been in the back of my mind for some time, and it's just as well that you're here. There was an office that was proposed, there's discussion around it, the Office of the Public Defender. If such an office existed, would it be a complementary office to your office, or would it be an office that is completely separate from yours, dealing with completely different matters?
I think the way I know the Public Defender's Office proposal, it would be completely different from the Ombudsman's office. The closest, which is actually in existence to the Ombuds, and which is an office that oversees all ombudsmen from various government institutions, is the Commission on Administrative Justice. That is the public ombudsman, really. We are more or less under the umbrella of the CAJ.
So what would the public defender be doing?
Well, I don't know how Mr. City envisaged it. In my view, that would be an office that would probably be more aligned to the Attorney General, probably, not the judiciary.
Not the judiciary.
Yeah.
Okay. You see why I asked the question is because, you see, the assumption is that when somebody has a complaint, the complaints would be, no, let me reverse it. The offices that are set up are, in my mind, categorized to enable the complainant to channel whatever issue they have to the appropriate office. Now, sometimes one may not be happy with the offices that are in place. I'm going to give an example of what I mean. If I go to a magistrate's court and I'm unhappy, and you tell me to go to a high court, and I go there, I'm unhappy. You keep telling me to keep going to a higher court. I'm unhappy with the court system. Okay? So if I'm happy with the court system, telling me to go to yet another court, you're not helping me at all. Because as far as I'm concerned, it is the same court system.
What sort of grievance would that be if you are unhappy with the court? Because you see, if it's based on a matter before a court, really it's about the facts, the evidence, and interpretation of the law. And the Constitution with finality says, on this issue, if you are aggrieved, this is the court.
Actually, you've gotten to the heart of the matter. You see, what I'm trying to get at is not what we normally deal with. You see, you are saying normalcy dictates that if you are unhappy with this lower court, if you go to a higher court, the listening and the processes would perhaps look at issues that were not looked at previously. If you're not happy with the high court, then you go to a three-judge bench. Thank you, three-judge bench, yes. Now, there are more ears listening to this than the previous one, isn't it?
Yes.
Now, I am envisioning a situation where I don't like the court processes. Okay? But I want somebody with the knowledge of the law to handle this matter. Now, when you say you have the office of the Ombudsman, I understand the issue of complaints and what have you. When we talk about the theoretical office of the public defender, again, the name suggests when the public has, I being the public, I have an issue, that is the person I would go to because they understand the law and they're able to interpret it in a way that may suit my purposes. I'm merely asking the question, of the many avenues that an individual in this country has to seeking a matter redressed for them, a matter of the law, okay? I'm asking the question, do we have enough avenues for that to happen? That's really what I'm asking.
Yeah. Well, if you bring in the public defender angle, really, it envisaged more than what the Ombudsman does. And in terms of, you talked about being unhappy with the court processes. I think there's a way around it. You see, there's a requirement in terms of the court processes to have all courts have court users committee, a leadership and management committee, where the court processes can be discussed at that court level. And then we have, all this is under the auspices of the National Council on Administration of Justice, which looks at the entire process in the entire justice chain, not just the judiciary. You may be unhappy about court processes, but you may be unhappy about the role of the police during investigations, the DPP during prosecution, or any other investigator, or the court during adjudication. So that is another body, that's another avenue, where grievances from the court stations through the court users committee can be escalated to the National Council. This is a council where all leaders in the justice chain sit and deliberate on the issues before them. So in my understanding, that would be the best avenue to deal with court processes, an individual who's dissatisfied with court processes. If it's, however, on the merits, and if it's on the facts and the evidence before a court, really the Constitution that binds us provides for the appellate court process. There is no other way. If it's on the book.
Essentially, I'm stuck with the courts.
Your public defender's not coming just yet.
No, even getting stuck with the court, I think by hearing, if you go to the court users committee and you say, I am unhappy with the process, because what you are unhappy with is not necessarily justice, is the process, like I heard you say. So you can address the issue of process from the court users committee. But also, Honorable Bidali, if he can come directly to you and say, I'm unhappy with the process, can you guide? Can the office of the Ombudsman take that issue and say, this is feedback from a user?
Yes, we do. And we would now take it up from that aspect, that this is a court user dissatisfied with a process. We deal with administrative processes. But to find a solution...
I do not want to be sitting in the dock. It's just because I'm an accused person. I'd like to sit elsewhere. I want to sit there with the lawyers.
Yes, we would take it up. But you see, this may entail changing manuals, directions, practice.
Yes.
It would still have to go through the same channel.
Very good.
You've heard of, before you change any manual or come up with any regulation, there must be numerous steps, stakeholder engagement, public participation, and so on and so forth. So all those proposed changes to the processes are channeled through that avenue.
I think the important point is that you can voice your grievance, right? But let's take a break. 25 minutes to 8. Kenya's biggest conversation on this Justice Thursday. Our conversation is about enhancing equitable access to justice. The Honorable Kennedy Bidali is the Judiciary Ombudsman. He's here with us. He'll also be telling us about Mahakama Popote and what they mean by that. Earlier, Honorable Bidali, we were talking about an index that's released by House Consult every quarter. The House Consult Quarterly Property Index tells you, if you own property, what's the best place to put up property? Where can you get high rental yield? Where can you get the cheapest or most affordable land? Where can you get the most expensive land? This latest one tells us Ruaka is the most expensive in Nairobi. An acre is going for 98 million shillings, and in Donholm 76 million shillings. And City was wondering, where do people get this kind of money from?
If an acre is that expensive, and then here someone has bought 10 acres.
Surely. Hey. Various ways you can get money. One of them is just going to a bank and taking a loan. Okay? For example, one tier 1 bank which has been in the country since 1974 is I&M Bank. And I&M has taken the most disruptive step in this sector by giving you Kenya's largest unsecured personal loan, up to 10 million shillings unsecured. Not title, not logbook, not your nothing. Not your blood that they drew Ndu's blood, they put you in a pint, they put in a blood bag, nothing. All you need to do is you go with proof that you have regular income. Okay? Employers what? Employer letter, employer pay slip. Go to them and tell them, I want an unsecured loan. They look at you, they can give you up to 10 million shillings unsecured. Just like that. No other bank in this country is doing that. None. And they say, if you'd like to get more information about this, just call them 0719 088 000. 0719 088 000.
Well done.
I&M Bank. That's the bank to go to.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
If you go out of this country and come back the same person, then you have a problem. Buy land, 1 million. Put it there for 5 years. What's the purpose?
It'll have increased in value.
No, that's the thing. That's darkness. That's an eclipse. You don't do that.
I hope you don't believe that a hustler is a poor person, or that all hustlers are poor. I've seen that conversation.
Tell us, who is a hustler?
So who's a hustler? Hustler is a person who is making a living through hard work.
Corruption in Kenya is a political accusation. The people who are actually corrupt are not pointed fingers at.
Kenya is not free. Kenya imeshikwa na mateka. It's under siege.
Have you seen that lodge on Nyeri Road? Very high fence. You can't even
Windows
sleep inside.
up near the ceiling.
Yes. And if you walk that midnight, you see bats the size of cows.
And when it rains, it doesn't rain on that building.
Yes.
When you're at All Saints and it's raining, it doesn't rain on that building.
The things people will believe.
The Situation Room.
All right, so we're still looking at cloudy conditions and a bit of a sprinkle in some parts of Nairobi this morning. We'll go to highs of 24. And at 18 degrees in Nakuru, we'll see highs of 24 and we'll see highs of 24 as well in Nyeri. It's 15 and sunny in Eldoret, 25 and sunny in Mombasa. And at 26, Malindi will go to highs of 30. 20 degrees and sunny in Kisumu, 19 and partly sunny in Kakamega. At 18, Kampala is cloudy and a chance of rain, 23 and sunny in Dar es Salaam, 14 and partly cloudy out in Johannesburg, and at 26, Lagos is clear, we'll see highs of 32, and a mostly cloudy Kinshasa, we'll see highs of 32.
spice up your life.
Okay, so raining in some parts, a couple of slowdowns because of the traffic situation we're seeing in certain parts. On Mombasa Road, still continues with that construction going on there, using the long route, or rather at least keep to your left. You get towards you get towards General Motors, not too long from then. Landage Road is busy, taking off traffic off of Jogo Road, and the Thika Superhighway is moving very, very slowly right about now. It's also doing the same on Kiambu Road. Use the service lanes, you'll get there quicker, is what we're told. Use the service lanes. Also, then on Limuru Road, coming in from Kitisuru, then we're also seeing on the other side coming past the airport, Aga Khan Hospital. Okay, so we just keep an eye on things and see what happens in a short while. Talk to us on Spice FM KE on Twitter.
Welcome to Spice FM, the best exclusive radio station bringing you the best mix of the best music ever. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right.
Okay.
94.4 Spice FM.
Continues with the Judiciary Ombudsman, the Honorable Kennedy Bidali, enhancing equitable access to justice through Mahakama Popote and others. And you are explaining that you receive many issues and complaints about processes, about somebody feeling that their justice is being delayed. What if somebody has a complaint about a judicial officer? This is the conduct of a magistrate. Huyu alinitukana, huyu aliongea nini, huyu alisema hot air na sikufurahia, naomba, can you say hot air in court? Can they come to you?
Yes, that's within our mandate.
Okay.
Any complaints on a breach of any of the regulations, a breach of the code of conduct, a breach of any of the laws that govern our court operations, those are within our mandate.
Okay. Do you find that conflict of interest, does it ever play here? I think of the Employer and Labor Relations Court, right? And having a conversation with them, you can almost hear as though in most cases the employee is taken care of. And we can see that from the judgments that are made, and we're also often told that, look, from the judgments we can then deduce that by the time an employee brings a case before the court, you'll find that their grievances then usually are heard in their favor, unless there's something that cannot be proven, cannot be dealt with. Do you find that conflict will come here because these are judicial officers that bring about complaints? Do you find that you most times will deal with the case and it goes in favor of the one who is complaining?
There are very clear practice directions on how to deal with conflicts. If, for instance, there's a company that's having a litigation before a court, and the presiding officer, the judge or magistrate, is a shareholder or has some other interest in that company, the practice is that they do declare that conflict and recuse themselves from handling that matter any further. In terms of employees, I guess you mean the employees of the judiciary who appear before the Employment and Labor Relations Court. I mean, where else can they go? It's the only court. They are employees. They have the same protections of the law. They have the same rights as all other employees. And I'm not so sure of the source of the statistics that it's often ruled in their favor, but I've read a few decisions where the employees got judgments in their favor. And if you follow that history, you'll see that actually those grievances most of them went through the Appellate court processes.
Oh, really?
Some of them were actually determined by the Supreme Court. So if the decisions are coming out in the employee's favor, it is the law. It is not the court. The courts are only interpreting what the law provides. And quite a few of them, it's very interesting if you read that compendium of cases, quite a few of them fault the processes used. And those processes are anchored in law. So if any employer breaches any of those processes, of course the courts will rule against the employer. But for the judiciary employees appearing before the same judiciary, there has never been an issue of conflict.
Never.
Well, to our knowledge, there's been
perception-wise, maybe, but in reality, no.
Well, perception, this is a judiciary employee going before another judiciary employee. Perception, perhaps.
I'm sure you've heard this. I mean, you've heard this before, where people say, oh, of course, I mean, it's going under the same system. The system is going to protect one of their own.
You see, this is the irony of it. When there can be no... well, we've not heard of those perceptions because when a judiciary employee goes before the Employment and Labor Relations Court and has sued the employer. It's the judiciary employee and the judiciary itself. So really, we don't have that perception in those kind of cases. But they are likely to occur in many other cases where, for instance, a member of a tribunal appearing before the court, I think we've handled one or two, and where there was that perception, but on processing the complaints, it was about the merits of the case. And that was referred to the Appellate court process.
Who watches the watchman? If I have a complaint against the Ombudsman of the Judiciary, who do I go to?
You escalate it all the way to the Chief Justice of the Republic.
So how do I do that?
You
see, in the office of the Ombudsman, I know I can come in with a complaint and I'll leave it there and it'll be taken up, and you have a responsibility to do it, an obligation to do it. So if I have a complaint against any officer in the office of the Ombudsman, how do I deal with that?
The Ombudsman, like nearly all employees, are under performance contracting. We fail to meet any of our targets, you just escalate it. How? It's as simple as easy as an email, a tweet, anything. The office of the CJ is accessible through all those channels.
Now, let me talk to the Ombudsman and ask this question. We refer cases to higher courts. Now, do we have within our constitution, our laws, any process that enables a consumer of our judicial processes the opportunity to ask a court to review its ruling?
Yes, there is those are statutory provisions where you can go before the same court to review. Sometimes the court can do that on its own motion. During calculations of the general damages, there was a miscalculation and you feel that that ought to be corrected. If it's an error apparent, that there's a statutory, the law enables the courts to make that correction and enables the litigants to go back to the same court requesting for a review. It's actually a formal application before the court.
For instance, you know where I'm going with this one? There's something that has been in our landscape for the longest time with regards to the 2022 elections. Is it possible for someone to have gone to the Supreme Court and say, could you review this ruling of yours?
No, the Supreme Court has its own rules. So you would have to gain access. You don't just have access to the Supreme Court at the first instance unless it's a presidential petition. And then all other appeals have to satisfy certain criteria. So if you satisfy that, you have access to the Supreme Court. But you have to satisfy that criteria that's set out.
What's Mahakama Popote?
Just as the name suggests, it's a court everywhere. It's a court that leverages on technology to ensure that there is equitable distribution of work and access to justice. That is really the concept behind Mahakama Popote. Let me break it down this way. We have, there's a requirement of the law, for instance, to have high courts in every county. We are required to have magistrates spread out to all parts of the country to enable access to justice. So take the example of the judicial officer who's sitting in Kakuma or sitting in Lodwar. The sort of disputes that go before that judicial officer. We require that judicial officer to be there because the people of Kakuma, the people of Lodwar, the people of Mandera need access to that justice.
Yeah.
And then you look at the disputes in terms of numbers. Let's talk numbers now. The disputes, personal injury claims before a court in Mandera in a year. Would you estimate about how many would be there?
Personal injury claims.
Resulting in an accident or... and then do that comparison.
Or shooting.
Shooting that criminal.
So it's like that, from accident, from road accident, from...
Yes, any personal injury claim.
Right.
There would not be that many.
Not many.
Yeah. So what about in a court in Kakuma or Lodwar? Then do that, they are there. But now compare that with a judicial officer sitting in Nakuru or Mombasa.
All right.
Or right here in Milimani. So the numbers would vary so much.
Yeah.
To the extent that on average, for instance, in 6 months of the year 2022, the last 6 months, on average in Milimani, each judicial officer handled about 3,400 cases.
Per judicial officer?
Each.
Right.
Okay? Looking at those returns. And in Mombasa, the number was slightly lower, about 2,200, 2,300 cases for the last 6 months of the year 2022. So compare these numbers with the same judicial officers, same facilities, same qualifications, same pay, sitting in Kakuma. The numbers would be much lower. So you require that judicial officer to be in Kakuma. But that judicial officer has more judicial time to spare as compared to the one who's sitting in Mombasa law courts.
Yeah.
Or in Nakuru. Or in any busy commercial hub. The numbers would be higher. So this Mahakama Popote was actually driven by data. And it's the data that I'm just sharing, that the numbers in the commercial hubs were much higher. And so what the judiciary now did is just to leverage on ICT. COVID had brought virtual courts unto us. And when we dealt with COVID, we were not going to let go of the virtual courts.
Yeah.
So it is very likely that you have a matter in Milimani Commercial Court, and the Chief Justice has appointed judicial officers under this initiative to hear matters and posted judicial officers at the Milimani Court. But when you appear in the morning, you will be before a judicial officer, but he may not be physically sitting in Milimani. Your Mahakama will be Popote. It could be in Kakuma, it could be in Lodwar.
It's a virtual court.
It's a virtual court.
So the judicial officer who could be assigned to this particular case does not necessarily have to be one who's posted in Nairobi.
No, for this purpose and so that for the requirement of the law, when they are handling this matter under this initiative, they are posted and instructed by the Chief Justice. But previously, before the advent of virtual courts, what would happen is that the judges or judicial officers, whenever a court is overwhelmed, they would travel to that court.
Yeah.
And hear matters for a week, a month, just to bring the numbers down to probably what we expect, the national average. But the difference now is that the judicial officers don't travel. They simply have the credentials, they log into our virtual courts, and they're able to determine matters in any event. If you had a case in Milimani, you would not go there. Your advocate would not go there. 90% of the cases. Your advocate, if you wanted to hear the case, you'd have to log in or go to your advocate's chambers. So you can still do the same. Go to the advocates' chambers, follow your case, testify virtually.
Okay, so let me ask the question again. Because you gave us the example of the judicial officer who's posted in Kakuma, who may have a little bit more judicial time. And then there's another one who's in Mombasa who's really swamped. Can the judicial officer sitting in Kakuma log on and hear a matter that's before a court in Mombasa?
So this is how the courts operate on this under this initiative. The judicial officer in Mombasa, there's a head of station there, who would assign matters to the judicial officers working under her. Now, that base is expanded to include this other judicial officer who may not physically be there, but could be sitting at another court station, but under this initiative has instructions to ease the backlog of Mombasa. So when you have a pool of 5 sitting in your court, under this initiative, when you go to your virtual allocation diary, you will see 10.
Okay.
Yeah. The only limitation now is that the judicial officers who are virtual will not, for instance, hear criminal cases. Because in some instances, the criminal cases, the witnesses have documents. Some of them you need to see the demeanors before you make a determination. However,
defendant needs to be present.
Yes, the accused person needs to be present. But in civil cases, even the same court in Mombasa does not physically see the litigants. They see them virtually. So it's the same thing that the court in Kakuma will see. The virtual defendant who can testify, who the documents generally will be produced during directions. So if there's any reference to any exhibit, it's already there in the virtual court file. So that's the concept behind Mahakama Popote.
How have you found the response to this so far? One from the court practitioners themselves and from the users of the court.
You see, I started, you asked me the sort of the prevalent complaints we deal with. That's delay. And you go to Milimani commercial courts, you have this urgent matter according to you. It's urgent. You need that claim settled. But because of capacity, the diary at Milimani only allows you to be heard in the month of October or November. Because there's a judicial officer can only hear so much. So under this initiative, when the diary at Milimani had closed at October, space was found in another diary. And therefore that matter can now be heard in the month of June. And if it's virtual, the statistics show that the matters move faster. So what is the reaction to the litigant? I mean, I could have waited till October, but in June I have a hearing date. Probably in July I have a judgment. So of course the reaction is very positive for the litigants. But of course, if your instructions were go in and delay it as long as possible, we may lose this claim. You may not be too amused, but we have a system of ensuring that even if your instructions are to cause delay, we have the daily returns. So the adjournments would just pop up every time we're doing our statistics. So that can be taken care of if your instructions were to delay. But the reaction from the litigants, the advocates, has been very positive. We're actually rolling it out to more courts because the data shows that the work distribution, because of the requirement to have courts in all counties, the commercial disputes are not equally spread out.
Of course.
So there'd be more in the bigger cities and less in the sub-counties. So we can have the judicial officers sit in the counties, but
still hear the matters
in the main hubs.
What we'd like to do next is actually start getting the feedback from the court users, right? So because there's all this, digitization of processes in the judiciary and the efficiency that it's bringing. And we've heard from you, you've heard from the registrars, and we heard from ICT personnel. Next, it's now important to start hearing from the people. Let the people say, yeah, in fact, this is what had happened before, and this is how this speeded up my access to justice. But we thank you very much, Bwana Ombudsman, for joining us today. Again. Come again soon.
Asante. It was a pleasure coming in, and thank you all for hosting me.
Karibu tena. The Honorable Kennedy Bidali is the Judiciary Ombudsman. He's been our guest this morning. He's told us about Mahakama Popote and how it's enhancing equitable access to justice across the country. Good morning, 8 a.m. The conversations continue.
Spice up your life.
Good morning, this is News. I'm Dennis Asato. President William Ruto says that due to the crisis of funding universities and TVET, they've come up with a new funding model. Ruto says the model will see them increase the budget allocation of higher education increased by over 30 billion shillings.
In the next financial year, under the new model, we are increasing the budgetary allocation from 54 billion to 84.6 billion, an extra 30.6 billion. This is an increase of 56% and translates to an increase of funding per student from 152,000 to Kenya shillings 208,000, an increase of 37%. The budgetary allocation for TVETs will increase from 5.2 billion in the financial year 22-23 to Kenya shillings 10 billion in the financial year 2023-2024. The cost of training TVET students will be 67,000 Kenya shillings per year per trainee.
The president further says that higher education funding will be given to students in accordance to their needs. He adds that over 80,000 vulnerable students joining the institutions will be fully funded by the government.
The government has resolved that university funding will henceforth be student-centered and be apportioned to individual students according to their level of need. Funding to students shall combine scholarships, loans, and household contributions on graduated scale, scientifically determined by means testing instrument. Students will be categorized according to 3 levels: vulnerable, less vulnerable, and able. The government shall fully fund the vulnerable students, who comprise 29% of students joining university. And these are 45,000 students will be funded fully by the government of Kenya. And in our TVET institutions, 42,000 students this year will equally be funded fully. Their parents will contribute nothing.
The Chancellor Law Courts in Mombasa is today expected to give a ruling on whether Pastor Ezekiel Odero of New Life International Church will be released on bail or not. Through his lawyers Dunson Omari and Cliff Ombeta, the preacher has opposed the request submitted by the police that he remains in custody for 30 more days to give time for the investigations to be completed. Shanzu Court Judge Joe Omido instead gave the prosecution until today to submit reasons why the suspect should be detained further. The preacher was arrested last week on allegations that he is connected with controversial preacher Paul Mackenzie, who is linked to the Shakahola murders, where 110 people have been confirmed dead. Mackenzie is also detained at the Malindi police station, is expected to appear in the same court in Shanzu on terrorism charges. The Malindi court released him Tuesday, but he was rearrested shortly after. This as Chief Government Pathologist Johansen Odur for the 4th day today. It's expected to continue with post-mortem examination of the bodies exhumed in Shakahola. As of yesterday, the Chief Government Pathologist had examined 36 bodies, while 22 families of the victims were undergoing DNA testing. In his report, Odur stated that the 36 bodies had all body parts intact, similar to the 40 bodies that were examined on Monday and Tuesday. The report also showed that 4 people among the 36 may have been killed, including one child whose body had a head injury.
We were able to do a total of 36 postmortems. 16 were children, 19 were adults. One we were unable to ascertain whether it's adult or a child. Many of them were severely decomposed. Majority we found that died because of features of starvation, which were 23 of them. 4 of them we found that they had asphyxia. And then we found a child who had head injury. We also found an adult, she had the kidney and the heart disease.
Meanwhile, a cross-section of religious leaders have called on the government to expedite investigations and get to the root of the Shakahola cult, which has so far led to the discovery of over 100 bodies. Speaking At a press conference, Archbishop Martin Kivuva noted the prosecution should not target embattled preacher Paul Mackenzie and his accomplices, but also bring state officers who over the years facilitated the criminal activity through complicity or being compromised. The cleric said the narrative that churches should be regulated is a way to divert from the crime that has shocked the world.
Narrative being driven that the churches and by extension religion need to be regulated is a facade meant to divert attention from the real problem, which is that the state has failed to play its role in dealing with crime. We call upon the government to expedite investigations and prosecute not only Pastor Mackenzie and his accomplices in his church, but also the state officers who have overlooked this matter.
Kivuva said they are opposed to government plans to revise the 2016 Religious Societies Regulations, adding that they have self-regulation guidelines. This is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseta. Good morning.
.5 Spice FM, Kisumu.
All right, it continues, and the sun is coming up in Nairobi. We'll see some traffic that is heavy coming off of Kiambu Road this morning. We're looking at Uhuru Highway, outbound traffic, inbound traffic. It's doing the whole thing today. We're seeing Ngong Road pretty busy as well. Coming off Jago Road is quite the bumper-to-bumper situation, as well as on the Thika Superhighway this morning. It's busy on Kiambu Road, and we're seeing the same thing on Limuru Road this morning as well. Let's keep an eye on things. It's a few minutes after 8 o'clock. Spice FMKE on Twitter. Keep things moving this morning. Let us know where you might be stuck or where you find a good route to use, and we'll spread the word.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latif, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is The Situation.
Good morning. If you're just joining us, welcome to Thursday. It's the 4th day of May 2023. Still live on Spice FM, on KTN Home, on YouTube, and on Facebook. The conversations continue. So you know when you say where you live and you're asked unaishi wapi and you start describing, kifika mahali fulani, there's a tall tree, place called Kamuteine, Muti Moja, I don't know what, Shukia hapo, Kona Tatu. Yeah? How about you just change that and you say, I live on 1255 Palm Ridge. How's that?
Okay, so your Palm Ridge iko wapi?
1255 Palm Ridge. What is it? It's in Vipingo. In Kilifi. Okay? Yeah, you're coming from Mombasa, heading towards Kilifi, you get to Vipingo, and then you turn to your left. 1255 Palm Ridge is right there. It's by Vipingo Development. It's a Vipingo Development by Centum Real Estate. Wonderful places to live. Great deals that they have right now. So they were selling the apartments from beginning at 2.45 million shillings, but they've decided no, let's actually make it 1.98 million shillings. And then what you can do is you put in a down payment of 10%, 1.98 million, 10% of that is 198,000 shillings. Okay? Put in 198,000 shillings, flexible payment plans thereafter until you get to owning these beautiful apartments. Swimming pool, children play areas, expansive green parks, water that's coming in from the ocean, and then it goes in through what process again, Ndu?
Desalinization.
That one. Where they remove the
salt
and
Other impurities.
Other things that are not supposed to be in the water.
And they give you clean water.
Oh, so we're talking about the process.
It's the whole thing.
Finished
I talk about the whole thing.
Finished product, clean water that can run through your taps.
You know, as you was going, and me I was going to say, and the fish.
They even remove the fish plus the shells, and they give you clean water, pure drink straight from the tap. Can you imagine doing that in this country? In this country where we've become everything is buying water in a bottle. This one, water from the tap, and you drink it. Just give them a call, 0740 400 215. That's 0740 400 215. Or you can text the word Bipingo to 22365. They'll get back in touch with you. They'll give you more details. Now, today would have been Maandamano Day, but there's no Maandamano today. Our focus shifts back to this bipartisan dialogue committee. Okay, 15-member committee has already been set up. 14-member rather. Kenya Kwanza 7, Azimio 7. Right. There's been this standoff about the membership of Kenya Kwanza. You have a guy that we want you to get out. Azimio, you have a guy that we want you to get out. Kenya Kwanza yesterday said, okay, you want so and so out. Adan Kainan himself said, ni mimi ndio shida. Now, the co-chair of this bipartisan dialogue committee is the Honorable George Murugara. He is the MP for the Raka constituency. He is the co-chair of the bipartisan, leading the Kenya Kwanza team into these talks. He is also the chairman of the National Assembly's Justice and Legal Affairs Committee. Good morning, Mheshimiwa.
Good morning, Latif. Good morning, the rest of the team.
Karibu sana to Kenya's biggest conversation. We call that the hot seat, eh?
Yeah, absolutely. It's beginning to feel a little heat is coming from down there. But I hope I'll be able to cope.
You'll be comfortable.
Absolutely.
You'll be comfortable.
Thank you.
We'll make sure that you're comfortable.
Thank you.
For example, listen to today's proverb from CT.
Our proverbs for the whole of this week have been from the country of Togo. Togo is one of the tiniest countries on the
continent of Africa.
Yes, exactly. It's not the smallest. The smallest is Seychelles, actually. Yes. Now,
by the seashore.
By the Seychelles isn't even by the seashore. It is surrounded by sea.
Oh,
yes.
Do they sell seashells?
Do they sell seashells?
No. I knew exactly where I was going with that, and he knows I have an SHS problem. So I wasn't going to.
He was looking for a spot of fun. This morning.
That joy I wasn't going to afford him this morning. And if she sells, then forget it. Okay. The fish, seeing the water has dried up, struggles mightily in the mud. That's the proverb for today.
The fish, seeing the water has dried up, struggles mightily in the mud.
True.
True?
True.
Explain.
It's purely imminent danger. I think the fish senses that now there isn't much left in my life. Death is nigh. Therefore, it starts struggling with a faint hope that it will find some water, some puddle somewhere, where it can try to resuscitate itself. So that's why it does it with all the zeal. It's not jokes anymore. The water is gone. My life is in danger. I have to struggle as much as I can to live an extra minute. That's why that saying it's an African saying.
Okay.
Right.
What do you think they meant, the Togolese? What is the interpretation of this proverb?
That when the push comes to shove, you really have you have to struggle. You have to do your best because you're on your last throws. I think that's what they meant. That when it's tough, when the tough gets going, you got to get tough yourself.
The going gets tough, the tough gets going.
Right. That's just about it. All right.
The Kikuyu have a saying for that.
What is it?
It's called that a moment. You're swallowing a bone and then it gets stuck here, right?
Yes.
You only have one thing to do. It must go.
It must go down.
It must go.
We have it.
There is no issue like
removing it. No.
Yeah.
It must go.
It must go. So that's why you look for some lump of ugali or
swallow and twist your neck to the side.
Exactly, to try to push it down.
Are we at that moment, Mheshimiwa?
No. I don't think we are really at that moment. So there were varied opinions as to whether that is where we were. I think our country is still on its feet, and that what we need to do is just to act in utmost good faith. Let's discuss. Let's have an open discussion, all the time putting the country first, not our own selfish and parochial interests. It has to be the country. Once we are on that path, it may not be that defining moment, as we can say.
Take us through what has happened since the two committees, the two sides basically named their members to the committee.
Yes.
And the first time that you met, and the issue of the opposite members became a conflict. Why was it an issue?
It was an issue because both sides felt... No, first it began with the Azimio side, who said that we had included somebody from their coalition as a member. Our response was, for all intents and purposes, the honorable member was actually part of our group, because we had selected him from our PG in State House, where his party was present. So we felt he was our person. They felt otherwise. Then we told them, if that is the case, then relook at yourselves. You also have somebody on whom we can claim interest. And that's how we raised the issue of their member. Of course, they responded by saying, sorry, we have raised the issue first. You guys, what you have is an afterthought. It's because you have said it, you said it. You wouldn't have said it if we had not said it. To some extent, they may have been right with that. But eventually, we said, let's consult further. And before we consulted further, it came to pass that they had suspended the negotiations or the talks, and they were saying we are going back to the streets. It wasn't pleasant, because the talks came because of the demonstrations. If there were no demonstrations, possibly the talks would have taken longer. They wouldn't have come as soon as they did. But here we were, and we said, fine, as Kenya Kwanza, we relook at our position, and let's just give one condition. We don't have to give many. Because the talks have come along because of the demos, let them call off the demos. Let's look at what their demands are. Honorable Kainan is a gentleman. He will listen to what we have to tell him. He also has his own position. We will discuss, and let not one person be the deal breaker. And that's exactly what has happened.
Is the committee's focus to have this conversation so that the demos will stop? Or is the focus to have the conversation so that the issues that are being raised then will be dealt with?
We have made one decision, which is that there are issues that are being raised, and those issues must be discussed. But what accelerated the talks are the demos. So this is why we said, let's call off the demos first, and then we proceed to continue with the negotiations. So really what we want the talks to achieve is what is good for the country. But at the same time, the demos are not taking a good trajectory.
Sure.
They are not going the right way, because every day something bad happens. It's bad for everybody.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if we say that is from Azimio, that was caused by intruders, that was caused by the police. It is ugly for everybody.
Okay.
So the talks will go on a clean slate, utmost good faith, bona fides as they call it, and goodwill. I believe from both sides. And we really don't want to hear of many, if you do not do, we will do. If you don't do, we will do. So something similar to blackmail. Let's go to the table, bring your issue, let's discuss it. There is no issue that doesn't have a solution.
Beyond having a conversation around a table, Mheshimiwa, in all honesty, if the two principals had not come out and had whatever conversation they had on Palm Sunday and said, okay, fine, let's have a conversation, those who sit at the table, is it in their interest to really have this, brought out and really dealt with? Or is it okay, well, they said we should talk, so let's talk?
Let's begin by what our position was as Parliament, because these are members of Parliament. We kept on saying, if there are any issues to be discussed, bring them to Parliament. Issues are brought to Parliament by members of Parliament, and they are brought in several ways. Maybe the magnitude had not reached where it was by that Sunday, but the intention of discussing whatever problems we have in the country was actually there.
Okay.
It was accelerated by the demonstrations, which were turning to be violent.
Yesterday, you announced that Adan Kainan has agreed to step aside from the committee. Whom have you replaced him with?
We have the honorable member for Saku constituency, which is in Marsabit. His name is Honorable Dido Raso.
So Dido Raso now joins this?
He joins this now as our 7th member.
Okay.
Yes.
And after this announcement, then we saw the leadership of Azimio saying, all right, so we'll go back to the talks.
Absolutely.
You may look at it as a win. There are those who may look at it as actually a loss on your side. You have lost your leverage. You've exposed your underbelly. You have shown that any time Azimio feel that you're not listening to them, they'll go back to the streets.
Yes.
And for you to listen to them, they'll just be on the streets until you listen.
I don't know whose opinion that one is, because it depends. There are also Kenyans who feel, in fact, what the government side has done is most commendable. That they are committed to the talks. It's purely not because, you know the demos. We had Thursday. It wasn't very successful. No, not Thursday, Tuesday. And we were promising today it was going to be even worse. So there are different ways of dealing with those demos. And they can actually be crippled to the last. Purely because Kenyans are also getting tired. But we don't want to go to who has won, who has lost. Sometimes it pays just to agree that possibly I'm a lesser person. But at the end of the day, you will emerge a bigger person. So we have said as a government side, we are going into this wholeheartedly. We have bent once. We may also have to bend twice.
Bend again and again.
Bend again and
For
again.
example, one of the other issues, so one issue was Adan Kainan out.
Yeah.
The other issue is get out of Parliament, come out of Parliament. Let's have this conversation. Let's bring in technical experts to join the committee to join the conversation.
Correct.
That's one of the other demands.
That's the other.
The other one is these are our 4 points.
Yeah.
Cost of living, electoral reforms, reinstate Chedera 4. Let's talk about education, cost of education. Let's talk about your bad manners in Parliament and protecting democracy by not raiding our camps. Those are their issues. And previously, your side, including the leadership of the majority in the National Assembly, has been saying the issue here is let's discuss the server if that's what you want. No, the cost of living, because the rest are non-issues. Are you prepared to accept Azimio's agenda and Azimio's proposals all the way?
Every proposal they have will be brought to the table.
It has already been brought to the table.
No. We have not tabled anything. We've just started. And the first thing that came up is called a PO, a preliminary objection. And there may be one or two others, but we are saying, look, we can't keep on doing objections after objections. If there was anything as serious as what they were doing, we should have come up with it in the last 2 or 3 meetings. But we are saying whatever they have, it will come to the table. Definitely, Kenya Kwanza also has its own points, because we are saying the constitution is not perfect. There may be issues affecting the country now, including insecurity, which needs to be discussed in a forum like this one. So what we are saying is don't come with points that you are going to call deal breakers. It's either this way, it's not the other way. Bring it up. Opening of the server, bring it to the table. Definitely you will present your case to the fullest. We will give you our response to the fullest. Eventually we'll get into a discussion and we'll come up with some form of an agreement on what should be done. What we don't want is threats, blackmail, saying if you don't do this, I won't do that. If you don't do this, I'll go back to the streets. That is not a very good discussion.
Do you have your limits? Because they clearly have said, like, these are our limits.
No.
And unless, if we're not having these talks outside, we're bringing experts.
Do you
have your limits and saying, beyond this point, wacha hii kitu
No, in fact, we don't want to take that position now because we don't want to ever put that on the table. What we are saying is every point is for discussion. And definitely, they will listen to us, we will listen to them. There is every possibility that we reach an agreement on most of the points. Because when they say we have to go outside Parliament, extra-parliamentary, they will show us how we do it in accordance with our law. We will also be telling them this is what the law says. So how do we marry the two? All right? If they want us to go to Parliament, enact a law so that we can go outside Parliament, we are fine. That becomes intra-parliamentary and intra-legal because this is within the law and this is from an act of Parliament.
I'm beginning to understand why it is you are the co-chair.
Yes.
You have a very conciliatory approach to this whole matter.
Yes.
He's the diplomat.
No, he is an extreme diplomat. He is not combative. He is not in your face. He is not belligerent. And there's nothing that is beyond discussion.
Yes, there isn't any.
Yes.
Because really that is the position we are taking.
Yes.
And I'm doing this with utmost good faith because that is what we agreed when we went to our PG. Let us have a discussion, an honest discussion. Let us not try to bully, brush aside the rest of the other group. They may feel we are in government. We have the power, we have the machinery, we have everything. And therefore they start saying we are treating them as underdogs. That is not the case. If anything, we are going to bend. As we said yesterday and the day before, we will bend to accommodate these talks because they are for the better of the country. The country is bigger than all of us. Whatever we do, we know there is posterity in the country. Today is Murugara. 20 years I will never be anywhere near possibly where I am. It will be somebody else. But I cannot say, let me ban the country now and enjoy my little time I have here on earth on some ashes because I will have nobody to discuss me. That is wrong.
Beyond the subjects, the matters that we have been told will be part of the discussion, does your forum allow for other issues to be brought in that were not necessarily tabled in the first instance?
I think we will have to because of Article 118 of the Constitution, which is on public participation. We want to take public participation as real, as it should be, such that when we invite you, you come with your issues, bring them to the table, make a presentation. They form part and parcel of the agenda. We are not inviting the public to come and give us some cosmetic talk, some talk that is going to be to grease what we have been doing. It is going to be real. It's going to be for everybody. Let those who have interested groups, we may not be able to accommodate every Kenyan, and that's why we may have to go by interested groups and maybe political parties, religious groups, human rights commission, associations, NGOs, etc. But also we may have to accommodate a few individuals out on their own right because of their peculiar position in the society. All that we are saying is part and parcel of the discussion we are going to have within the time that we are going to get, because we also won't have this indefinitely. Although we may approach it this way, we have not discussed, it's my own view, that we take the most urgent of the issues raised by Azimio and possibly raised by Kenya Kwanza. One by one, we deal with it to conclusion so that there is no lacuna as we talk. We are trying to bridge up the gaps like IBC. IBC may not wait longer than it has waited. We now need to go to the table, agree on how to approach that issue so that we have a commission in place and we can have the looming by-elections conducted.
You know, in every negotiation, there is bad cop, good cop, by design, by default. Even in the Kofi Annan talks of 2008, for those who participated in it, tell us, you know, even within our side as a PNU, within our side as ODM, we had people who were hardliners.
Hardliners.
People who would say, no, there's no way we're exceeding this ground. You've looked at your members.
We've looked at
the seven of you.
Absolutely.
Right? Do you have hardliners in your group?
No. I'm
that is an incomplete.
I'm happy to report that we do not have, strictly speaking, hardliners. Even the new member we've brought in, Honorable Dido Raso, is a diplomat par excellence. He does his things in a very humane, humble, and a peaceable manner. He's not a person we'll call a combatant. All right? So we've looked at our membership, and I think that is the reason he gives those compliments, that we look like people who are out to talk in utmost good faith. We don't look. We are going to be. No hardliners, absolutely. Their side, they may have 2 or 3. But we pacify those ones. We will tell them, look, you have to reason. You cannot always say it's either this or that. And just reason with everybody. They may have 2 or 3. And I believe that is why they were looking upon us with some element of contempt when we were formed. Said, sorry, you brought us some greenhorns here. Some weaklings who cannot discuss anything. You just need to be there to hear them speaking so politely and in a very convincing manner. Because I believe the reasons why we were selected must have been, we want to go in there not to ruin these talks, but to carry the talks through.
How will you deal with the hardliners on that side?
We try to convince them.
Because I'm sure you've had several meetings.
We have had several meetings.
And you have looked at the characters across you and the demeanor of the people that you're facing.
Absolutely, yes.
And there are those who appear, these ones we are going to have extra work to bring them on board.
And unfortunately, possibly, you may not even know who they are. You may have some thinking of or some suspicion. It's so and so. It is not that way. When you reach the table, it's when you see there are actually different people who are taking quite hardline positions. But we are of the view that they too will mellow as we go along. They will see to it that the country is more important than their political party formation, than them as individuals, even than the core principles, the appointing authorities. We must bring the country first in whatever discussion we are going to have, and we emphasize. You asked me what can you say? We emphasize that the talks are going to be within the law. Anything outside the law, we will have to leave it for enactment in Parliament or whichever other way it's going to be approached, but we are going to have the talks within the law.
Within which law?
With the law that is existing in the country.
So the present law?
The present law, because that's what we have. We cannot think of the future law or some law that has been repealed. We will have the existing law. When you bring your issue, if we bring the issue of security as Kenya Kwanza, what does the law say? And which is this law we are talking about? Does it require amendment? Does it require repealing? Do we require new law? All that is what we shall be talking about. But we cannot say we will now act this way when there is no law that says that is what you can do. Because that, again, is going to be extra legal.
Okay. Let's take a break at 28 minutes to 9. The conversation this morning is with regards to the bipartisan talks. How long can this window for talks remain open? The co-chair of the bipartisan committee is the Honorable George Murugara, the MP for Tharaka constituency, also the chairman of the National Assembly's Justice and Legal Affairs Committee. He's here. He represents the Kenya Kwanza primarily, but also now as a co-chair, he represents the bipartisan committee. How long can this window be open, and what do we expect from this committee? We've been telling you about this new campaign by I&M Bank, and they're saying, listen, we have Kenya's largest unsecured personal loans. Imagine going to I&M Bank and saying, all right, I don't have a title deed, I don't have a logbook, I don't have anything to bring as security. I only have my income. Give me a loan. And they tell you, we can give you up to 10 million shillings. Imagine that, the largest. Imagine up to 10 million shillings. What would you do? What is it that you need to do? You have a window of up to 10 million shillings. All you need to do is walk into I&M Bank and tell them that you'd like this unsecured personal loan. They'll ask you for a couple of things, including just a support from your employer and a pay slip, and then they'll assess and see how much they can give you. Or you can call them on 0719 088 000, 0719 088 000. I&M Bank, tunakujali.
This is the Situation Room The only way to start your day.
The following takes place from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. every weekday on Spice FM.
You tune into Kenya's biggest conversation. My name is Ramanya.
Amen. Amen.
So 1 hour is over?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
It gets over
Can you imagine
in 20 minutes.
what the big boys have also done?
I'm very proud of myself. When you understand about partnership in politics, it's like the way marriage is these days. When you're looking for a wife, you're like, oh, you know, maybe you can help me pay for fees as I pay for the rent.
Why should you have a lioness living in your bedroom?
I have to tell you a story. I went for a prayer meeting, which was called for the spouses of candidates for senators and governors. And when I got to the gate, the lady who was the secretary, she refused to. She's telling me, no. Leo tunataka wa mama. Leo ni wa mama. I'm telling her, no. She said, no, sio siku yenu.
You think you can guess the year?
2007. That's when the theme song, that's when it premiered for the James Bond movies.
You're half correct. But in terms of guessing the year?
Okay, if not 2007, then 1963.
Oh, now you're just throwing things, eh? You're throwing the sufria and everything outside.
The Spice Drive. Big hair and the biggest hits from the best decade.
Tune in to the Spice Drive with me, Edward Quatch, 3 to 7 in the PM.
The Spice Drive, only on 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
Damn.
Conditions in Nairobi, highs of 24 and lows of 15, and we'll see highs of 25 and lows of 15 as well in Nakuru. It's sunny at 17 in Nyeri, and 18 is sunny in Eldoret. We'll go to highs of 24. We'll see highs of 30 in Mombasa, where it's sunny at 27, and at 29, mostly sunny in Malindi. It's sunny at 21 in Kisumu. It'll go to highs of 27, and we'll see highs of 27 in Kakamega as well. It's partly sunny at 19 in Kampala. We'll go to highs of 26, and we'll see highs of 30 in a mostly sunny Dar es Salaam at 26. At 12, Johannesburg is partly sunny, highs of 23, and highs of 32 in a clear Lagos at 26. Kinshasa is mostly cloudy at 24 with highs of 32.
Sugar and spice and everything nice. Spice FM.
Spice up your life.
All right, traffic on Jogo Road still pretty heavy as you're going out towards Landis. Let's look at North Airport Road, which for now is looking pretty good as you get out towards Cabanas and then through to the Eastern Bypass. Flowing smoothly, no traffic there this morning. A little bit of traffic on Gong Road. We're looking at James Gishoro, which packs up quite some as you get towards Wayaki Way. The Thika Superhighway has, gotten much better now. We're just looking at traffic coming in then from Kiambu Road. And on Limuru Road, some traffic here and there, but you should be okay in a minute or so. Let's see what it looks like in about half an hour, but it looks like we'll be out of traffic hour much quicker than yesterday. Today, let's just keep an eye on things and see. Spice FM, KE on Twitter.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Unright. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
The conversation continues at 23 minutes to 9 with the Honorable George Murugara, who's the co-chair of the Parliamentary Bipartisan Committee. He's here to talk about this window that's now open again for bipartisan talks and what it entails. Mheshimiwa Ndu had asked the question, which was, what do we expect to get out of these talks? Is it going to be things that matter to Wanjiko, or is it going to be things that matter to the political class? And this also now dovetails into the other conversation that has even come from the civil society. All right, so it's a moment for the nation to talk. But the nation does not have to start and end with just the politicians in parliament. Can we have a forum where the nation speaks, where you get ideas from other people? Look at what happened, the Fungamano initiative of the 90s, and then moving into the Bomas talks and all this and the other. Can we have such a forum where people actually tell you, the people that you represent in parliament, get to tell you, these are the issues that matter to us today?
I think this is going to happen. if we can sort out the very urgent issues as Parliament and as quickly as we can, this may mutate into what we are thinking of, some conference of some sort, but possibly backed by the law. Because if there's no law that backs such conferences, it's the high time we came up with it, so that it is enacted into an act of Parliament which can be invoked by any interested party, and once it's invoked, then it comes into play. We have the urgent matters, which I think, in as much as we're going to have public participation on them, it is important that we also put them to rest.
What are these urgent matters?
The most important is IBC. It's IBC. Of course, we have the high cost of living, which is being addressed as a policy matter by the government. From time to time, and we've said within a period of possibly 6-8 months, we should start seeing results. But IBC cannot be addressed by anybody else apart from Parliament. Therefore, if we are to begin on this, let's begin on IBC, constitute it as we look at its legislation, the law that governs IBC. And that's why we bring in the public. How can we make that law better? And let the public bring their views to us. Let's also give them their views. And eventually let's go to Parliament and see what we can do to the law. The rest of the issues will come along. We will be discussing them. And if there are some that require conference, then that is what we are going to report. That we possibly have a national conversation, a national conference, where Wanjiku can also come and state her views on whatever it is she has in mind. But what we've said is we will discuss what will come to the table. And therefore, for anything to be discussed, it must be brought to the table.
It must come to the table.
If it is not brought to the table, then it's not open to discussion.
Azimio have indicated what they like to bring to the table. Cost of living, IBC composition, open the server, or, let's review the election of 2022. Let's review the decision of the Cherera 4. Of course, you'll see how to deal with that. And parliamentary democracy. What is Kenya Kwanza bringing to the table?
Number one, Azimio has not brought anything to the table.
They haven't yet, but they have indicated what they want to bring to the table.
They've just indicated what they would want. We'll also indicate what we would want, and it has to be from consultation between Kenya Kwanza. All right?
So right now, as Kenya Kwanza, as a 7-member Kenya Kwanza committee, do you have anything that you are likely to take to the table?
We have not sat to agree on what is coming to the table. We may have varied ideas. Every person has an idea here and there. Everybody has something to say. Like I would want to bring the issue of security. Security, banditry in the northern region, and everywhere else, insecurity, even the churches, what those rogue churches are doing. We would also want to bring about demonstrations. I mean, sincerely, how safe are demonstrations without some law controlling them? We want to bring this to the table. You have had others from central Kenya, championed by Honorable Gavanu Muchomba, saying we would want 1 man, 1 vote, 1 shilling, 1 something. All right? And the northerners will be coming with you must add a kilometer. All this may come along. All right? And we will have a discussion on it when it comes. Everybody has something to say.
Hopefully somebody will also bring the issue of CBC and JSS.
CBC and JSS, because it's not going very well. In as much as we cannot condemn it now, it's too late. So we really have to work on it and make sure, not just improve, make sure it works.
It sounds as if all of this is an arena where matters of governance are going to be discussed, and that it's only being brought about because of the would-be demonstrations or the unhappiness or the dissatisfaction that has come about as a result of the election that took place.
Right.
So now here we are discussing things that Kenya Kwanza would like to discuss as well, and that Azimio would like to discuss as well. But these are matters of governance. You're talking about education that needs to be sorted out. We're talking about electoral issues that need to be sorted out. We're talking about matters of governance infrastructure, essentially, that need to... But this is the job of... This is what government is supposed to be doing anyway. So correct. Why do we need to then have a bipartisan conversation about what government is supposed to be doing anyway? This is why they've been put there.
In fact, it's not that the government is supposed to be doing. The government is actually doing, and maybe somebody is not happy. There isn't any aspect of what has been brought to what has been suggested by Azimio, in which the government is not doing what's supposed to be done. Let's go to IBC. Let's begin with the elections. Super. They were supervised by a government in office. Some people are not satisfied. The legal mechanism was applied all the way up to the Supreme Court, and we have a decision that is binding on every Kenyan. However, there is a quarter that is not happy. That's why they've said, let's discuss. That's why they've gone to the streets. You may say the talks were triggered by the demos, but that's what happens in life. There must be a trigger to everything, including when you fall unwell, there's something that has triggered it. When it comes to IBC, the government is actually implementing the law. That's why quickly the law came into force and there was a selection panel constituted in accordance with the law. The president named it and told them, go ahead and they start picking the commissioners. So everything, even the cost of high cost of living, the government has worked on the food situation. It has removed the subsidy, but it said we'll do other things, reduce the taxation on food, allow people to import maize tax-free so that the price of unga would go down. That's what we expect the government to do. Fuel, there are some concessions, I'm told, out there as regards how we are to purchase fuel without foreign exchange. And in a while, once those concessions come into play and the ships start landing with fuel paid in Kenyan shillings, we are told the price will go down. Again, those are matters of economics, those are matters of policy. I believe the government was actually trying to do everything, including CBC. I mean, sincerely, it was changed. We had to accept it. When we went to collect views from Kenyans, they were insisting it's not as bad as we thought it was. And therefore, let's agree we carry on. And unfortunately, it doesn't have any infrastructure. The funding may not be as available. The syllabus is still not well developed. But there it is. Even teachers. You saw we recruited about 35,000. Yes. We have to do another 35,000 possibly in July, as soon as money is available. Because it's a teething problem. And there's little we can do about it. Eventually, all the systems, 844 was implemented when I had just left the old system. And I know it also had teething problems. Eventually, it became defined. We accepted it, and we have lived with it for many, many years, 30, 40 years. So even in CBC, we believe it's going to be refined, it's going to be properly implemented, and at the end of the day, every Kenyan will be happy with the system. As soon as we have the teachers, we have the infrastructure, classrooms, syllabus, and the other necessities.
Mheshimiwa, I like the way you've articulated these matters. In terms of priority, what would you say as a representative of the people of Tarak, what would you say is the priority of the people you represent and the priority of Kenyans right now?
Right now, Kenyans are up. They are sad. They are crying. The cost of living is high. And we've told the government, please work on this. Whichever way, do the best you can to bring down the cost of living. And the government has told us they are actually working on it. With the importation of maize, although this seems to have some issues here and there, which I hope they'll be removed. We need to see the cost of living going down. That's number one. We need to see the cost of fuel going down so that it doesn't become too expensive to travel. We know they are crying over that one. Again, they're also crying over CBC. That's a priority we must work on. In areas that are insecure in the country, there's a hue and cry because that security situation is a little bit it's wanting in terms of people being protected. This must be addressed. So those are the priority, whatever. Then, of course, at the national level, and we cannot, even if Kenyans may not know what is IBC, they may not know how important it is. It is extremely important for the country. That's why we are saying it's one of the most urgent matters on the table. Because we lost a member of parliament just the other day, and there are laws that say you have to do a by-election within a given period of time.
Yeah.
Now, we possibly have to go to court to get extensions. I don't know whether you go to court or you go to Parliament, but I'm 100% sure you don't go to Parliament, you go to court for extensions because there's no IBC to conduct these by-elections. So we have all this to talk about. And yes, in as much as the demos were there. That's why they were finding favor with Kenyans because of the high cost of living. But we were saying it won't be addressed by going to the streets. The government will have to put into place policies that are acceptable in all situations to bring down the cost of living.
In the circumstances we find ourselves in, many of which have been brought about by circumstances that are actually beyond Kenya Kwanza.
True.
So long as people cannot afford to eat, it means they can't afford to live.
Correct.
If education is seen as a privilege that only some people can afford and others cannot, it breeds many things, among them insecurity.
Correct.
Now, we have enough land, arable land. We have enough natural resources, chief of which is human resource. Now, when you say the government is planning, the land, they don't have to look for it. It exists. We already have the land.
We have the land.
Human resource, the government doesn't look for it. We already have human resource.
More than sufficient.
So, when you as parliamentarians talk to your colleagues in the cabinet and they talk about the policies and the things that they are doing, what is it that they are doing to ensure that everyone can afford to eat? Those who have the willingness to work can actually work, because so long as people are eating and they know they can eat, so long as they know their children can go to school, so long as they can go to work and earn a living, many of these issues that we are discussing will not be issues at all.
Correct.
So I'm putting it as a layman.
I am in full agreement with you. As a layman, you said exactly what is supposed to be said, because if you want to reduce the cost of food, the cost of living, and the cost of living principally goes with the food first and possibly fuel. And we have enough land. So that is why the government under the President, His Excellency, has always said there are two ways of doing this: the short term and the long term. The short term are the interventions he's trying to do now, which include just boost production. Boost production. If you boost it well, automatically, because of market forces, the cost of food will go down.
Yes.
That's short term. All right? Just the way he's doing with fuel. Again, you buy it in Kenya shillings and what have you. We have to find long-lasting solutions. The long-lasting solutions, because we have land, is exactly what he's beginning to do. Look for water. Find people water to farm. That's why he's saying, I have to go out there and do dams, which will be like lakes, so that people have water perennially. It is always there without any time saying, I cannot farm my tomatoes, I can't do my maize, I can't do anything. And you've seen recently there were adverts for quite a good number of dams in the country. And we expect even more, because once we saturate the country with water, our food problem is over. Work. We must, as much as agriculture is going to be a big employer, we also want to have industries employing our people. We must encourage investment. That's why we were crying internally. And that's why possibly you see us the way we are as we talk. Not very bold and not that radical as we are supposed to be. Because these demos were affecting the country in a very negative way. Investors running away, tourists can't come in, and this is not good for the country. We want a peaceful country which is going to be a hub for everything. Once we do that, you will see this landed population which we have, and Kenya is not short of it, will start getting jobs from the investments. We must also go out there to the international market. There are people who have work, but they have no workers across the globe. Japan was here. We are happy. Saudi Arabia, we just need to tighten nuts here and there. because it may not be as bad as we are told it is. Just some misbehavior here, some characters who don't want to follow the law there. But at the end of the day, there is work available in the Arab country, in the Arab world, in the Americas, in Europe, and we have no problem with exporting young people to go and work out there. Even the rest of Africa. There are some African countries who do not have as qualified workforce as our country. This can only be done in a stable, developing country. If we make it unstable, such that we are fighting, we are throwing stones, we are doing all this manner of things, we are done. So just accept what we are trying to do today, this morning, is that let's bring the country back to its senses and let everybody come to the table and talk.
Is there a timeline by when these talks should end?
Let me be frank with you.
It can't be an open-ended.
It cannot be open-ended, absolutely. But let me assure you of one thing. We are talking today, co-chair Murugara, co-chair Otiende Amolo, 7 members from each side. These are just proposals. Absolutely. They have no legal basis. This committee has no legal basis whatsoever. In as much as I'm proposing to Honorable Otiende Amolo we meet tomorrow, just to ensure that we pick from where we had stopped. We are nobody.
So there is no, and so this is the thing.
Yeah.
So, there's no guarantee that even after all these talks that you have, wherever you have them, there's no guarantee that the proposals that are being made or that the discussions that are being had
are going
to be binding in any way, shape, or form, and that they're going to sway or change the situation in any way.
They are going to be binding, because we have said as soon as we now agree on the parameters, we go to the table, which we should be doing by tomorrow or next week or the week after. We have to go back to Parliament. We have to establish this committee under the law, parliamentary procedures and rules, so that we anchor it on law.
As a select
The
committee.
report that it's going to be a select ad hoc committee or something. The report that's going to come in will be tabled in Parliament. It's for Parliament to do what it wants with it. So you can see that way it has some impetus. But if we do it under some law which does not exist, and there we are. Eventually, we don't know to deliver it to who. Maybe table one in the infonote, and maybe give one to the head of state. That's the end of it. It may not take us anywhere. However, a report of Parliament is as binding as a decision of the court. So once we finish with the report, we have to take it back to Parliament with the recommendations that are in it. So we must, as we talk today, we have no legal footing. But in a period of time, we must get some legal footing from Parliament so that we can now go in, work as a parliamentary committee, ad hoc or select, whatever we are going to call it, going to do certain pieces of work. So the motion that will go to Parliament will have the terms of reference to a greater extent, maybe with what is called a general purposes clause in it, that they can do anything that comes to them, and a timeline. And that's where the timeline will come in, whether 90 days, 120 days, 2 years, 3 years, as Parliament will deem fit, so that we have all issues resolved.
So until that happens, you don't even have a budget.
We do not have a budget.
You're buying your own tea when you
We
meet.
are buying our own tea ourselves. We have to pay for the hall where we meet, because there is nobody who is going to pay for you. And it's exactly that. And especially...
So who's paying? Is it Kenya Kwanza as a parliamentary grouping that is paying
sometimes
for
the Honorable Sifuna would pay. Sometimes Mjiji Murugara would pay. Because what do we do now? Parliament would have actually assisted us if it was not the objection from Kenya Kwanza, from Azimio, that this should not be parliamentary. So they're saying, if they are objecting, we spend the money this way, it may raise an audit query. So, gentlemen, we may not be able to help you. But had we agreed this is all of us, then it would be an extension of parliamentary meetings, whether a committee, whether the Speaker has a way of finding it, how it would foot this bill. But for how long can we continue like this? Can't go for long. I can't pay for long. Sifuna Otiende won't pay for a long period of time. So we really have to agree on who we are and how we are going to proceed, and where is the budget coming from? How much is it? etc.
Do you sense that there is goodwill? Final question. Is there goodwill from your principals, both of them? Yes or no?
No, there's goodwill. 100% there's goodwill.
Okay.
Because I know from Kenya Kwanza, we have a free hand. We are told, please, run this in the best way you can. You have the ability, you have the know-how.
Okay.
I also believe the core principles in Azimio actually are coming to see it right, that nothing will be achieved with mandamanos. Let these people talk, and I pray they give them a free hand. A free hand is not on every issue we have to run back to the appointing authorities to consult. Let me exercise my discretion and exercise a decision. And that decision is going to be accepted if it is prudent. But if it is imprudent, then you have to blame me because I've made some decision that is not wise.
Mheshimiwa, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
CT.
Muga.
Yes, Muga.
Muga. Thank you so much, Muga.
Muga.
Yes.
Muga. In Meru, it's a greeting.
But then I would say Muga Muno.
Muga Muno.
Yes.
It means it has no meaning.
And Ndu.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Asante sana.
The Honorable George Murugara is the MP for the Raka, Chairman of JLAC, and the co-chair of the Parliamentary Bipartisan Committee. Keep it here for more. 9 a.m.
The news at the top of the hour on Vibes Radio.
Good morning, this is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseto. International Monetary Fund has exuded confidence in the government's economic recovery program. IMF Managing Director Kristalina Georgieva lauded Kenya's decision to prioritize investment in agriculture and micro and small enterprises that offer quick turnaround results. Georgieva said the government's dynamism in investment, prudent fiscal measures and transparency in governance have set the country on the path of success. She said IMF is ready to support the government to fast-track the country's economic recovery programs. Now, Kenya needs to produce its own oil in order to cushion itself from external shocks, National Oil Chairman and former Energy Minister Graiti Murungi said. Murungi said external pressures such as the dollar volatility and conflicts will always affect energy security, saying internal sources was a sure bet in stabilizing the supply. Industry experts hope that the appointment of Murungi will give the corporation new energy in its turnaround plans. NOC was incorporated in April 1981 under the Companies Act Cap 486 of the laws of Kenya with the mandate to participate in all aspects of the petroleum industry. It was founded with a mandate to spearhead petroleum exploration activities in the country, guaranteeing security for supply of petroleum products and stabilizing prices of petroleum products. Now, Health Cabinet Secretary Susan Nakuru inaugurated the Kenyatta National Hospital Board of Management. According to the Health CS, the new board will provide a significant step towards achieving universal healthcare for all Kenyans. In her address, the Cabinet Secretary emphasized the critical role that institutions like KNH play in our pursuit of universal healthcare. She said the government is committed to supporting the management of KNH in fulfilling its mandate and providing high-quality healthcare services to all citizens. Nakuru County Government has commenced the processing and payment of 1.5 billion shillings in pending bills out of the 3.5 billion shillings it owes suppliers and contractors. Governor Susan Kihika said an audit will be done, including verification of construction works and goods and services supplied to the county to ensure only genuine suppliers and contractors are paid. She clarified that contractors and suppliers who have no sufficient documents to support their claims will be deemed to have engaged in corruption or awarded tenders in circumstances that violated procurement laws and the Public Finance Management Act. Now, the number of men opting to undergo vasectomy doubled in 1 year from 248 in 2021 to 557 in 2022. The Economic Survey Report 2023 shows that 334 men underwent vasectomy in 2020, 658 in 2019 and 646 in 2018. The report also states that even though the uptick went up in 2022 from 3,616 in 2021, it was a decrease from 10,814 in 2018. The number of new clients for all the contraceptive methods, however, declined during the period under review, except for pills and sterilization for both males and females. And the United Nations is calling for a cessation for the ongoing war in Sudan. United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres, who is in the country for a 2-day visit, said there is need for the war to be stopped immediately to avoid neighboring countries from being affected. He said that at least 800,000 people may have to flee Sudan due to the war that has continued for the third week now.
I believe that all need to come together and all need to use their capacity to put pressure for this horrible and I would say unjustified conflict to stop. There is no right, a country like Sudan that has suffered so much, that is in such a desperate economic and humanitarian situation, cannot afford a struggle for power between two people.
According to the International Organization for Refugees, so far there are 100,000 people who have fled Sudan, many moving to neighboring countries such as Chad and Ethiopia. Now, a teenage boy opened fire in a school in the Serbian capital of Belgrade just after lessons began, killing 8 children and a security guard and seriously injuring several others. The boy, a 13-year-old student at school, allegedly sketched out the attack in advance on crumpled pieces of paper that officials displayed at a somber press conference. He called police himself after the shootings. The rare and possibly unprecedented event in a nation with strict firearm laws yet high levels of gun ownership set shockwaves through the local community and beyond. This is Newswire. I'm Dennis Osato. Good morning.
.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
Okay, so we're looking at traffic not doing too badly around many parts of the city, going towards the end of traffic hour this morning. We saw that the Kiambu Road looking much better now as it connected with Thika Superhighway right there at Muthaiga Square. That's dwindling. You should be able to get into the city in good time now. We're still seeing some traffic, however, that's coming in through to Muthaiga Square, but it should be over soon. James Gishuru not looking bad. Langata Road looked good all morning. And we saw also that the North Airport Road out towards the Eastern Bypass also looking pretty good as well. Okay, let's see what happens. But morning on Thursday looks good. Spice FM KE on Twitter.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latif, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your...
Is now 7 minutes after 9 on this 4th day of May 2023. Welcome, and let's continue talking. Remember, we are telling you to think about taking a good loan, okay? And you walk into I&M Bank and you tell them, you know what, here's my pay slip, a good look at it, give me a loan. From as low as 50,000 shillings to as high as 10 million shillings, personal unsecured loans, tenures from as low as 12 months, and you can pay to up to 96 months. Now, this is something, okay, you're a civil servant, you work in a corporate organization, in an MSME, you have all an access to this particular unsecured loans by I&M Bank. All they want you to do is walk into I&M Bank in any branch countrywide, or you can call them on 0719 088 000. That's 0719 088 000. They say I&M Bank tunakujali. Now, we want to talk about coaching, not Michael Arteta kind of coaching or Jacob Gosmule kind of coaching. Is there the new kind of coaching that we hear? You know, I'm a coach, I'm a leadership coach, I'm an executive coach, I'm a professional coach. Who are those people? And what do they coach? Okay, we are joined by two coaches or coaches. I don't know. They'll tell us how they pronounce this. One of them is Susan Gishara. Susan is the president-elect of ICF Kenya Board. President-elect. You know, we are dealing with presidents nowadays. Karibu sana, Susan.
Thank you.
The other one is Michael Oyer. Michael is a leadership coach, and Michael has been here before, not in this studio. Have you been in this studio?
Never.
You haven't been to
before.
this studio? No. This is your first time?
First time.
Michael is a leadership coach. Michael is a media personality as well. He's worked at KTN, at Capital, and elsewhere. Karibuni sana.
Asante.
Yeah? Madam President.
Elect.
Well, sawa. Madam President-elect. Now you're in that process of getting into assumption. You'll be sworn in before 2 p.m. on a certain Tuesday. So, and take the instruments of power. What is ICF Kenya?
ICF is a global body. Yeah, it's a global body. We champion coaching as one of the key interventions to development. Basically development from a very broad spectrum, not just career, not just executive, life and otherwise. So we are a professional body in many countries globally. And Kenya happens to be one of the chapters within Africa and one of the fastest growing. So what ICF looks at is having the golden standards, the guiding framework in terms of what coaching should look like, the ethics, the engagement, the bare minimum standards in terms of professionalism, and the relationship that you should really have when you call yourself a professional coach.
Okay, you'll tell us more about this shortly. To welcome you both to the show, C.T. Muga has the day's proverb.
Yes, our proverbs for the whole of this week are from the country of Togo. Capital of Togo, I'm told, is Lome. And as I was telling the gentleman who was in the show just before you, Togo is one of the smallest countries in Africa. Not the smallest. The smallest is Seychelles. The fish, seeing the water drying up, struggles mightily in the mud. That's a proverb. The fish, seeing the water drying up, struggles mightily in the mud.
Coaches. This is for you. Okay.
How do you coach this one?
What's your interpretation of this, Michael, as you listen to it? I see you thinking long and hard.
You know, you said coaches, so I'm very careful. Coaches don't interpret. They then ask, what led you to choose this particular proverb?
Now that is serious coaching. Let's get to the heart of it. Of all the proverbs from this country,
why this one?
Why this particular one? And it's a valid question. It's because I have actually seen fish struggling when they're out of water. More than once, different kinds of fish. And if you look at the movement they're making when they're on land, it's the same movement they make when they're in water. See, part of the process of actually being able to allow oxygen from the water into their gills involves movement. So you find fish move. By and large, they tend to move literally all the time. So even when they're out of water, they're still moving. But now the movement is in an environment where their life is threatened.
Yes. And how does that apply to the lives of those listening today?
Now that's for them to decide.
And that's very correct.
That's for them to decide.
That's for them to decide, yes.
What's your own interpretation of this? How does it apply to you as Michael?
The first thing that came to mind is and I like your explanation, because now my thoughts have been nullified, was, death is not nice to encounter. Few people encounter death peacefully, calmly. There's a kick And I wonder what the difference is, because I have heard of people who come to death calmly and peacefully.
Yeah, died peacefully in their sleep.
Yeah.
The throes of death. Okay. We have to come to you, Madam President-elect. What's yours? What's your interpretation of this?
Taking the backdrop of what coaching is and what it is not, it's basically, I look at it from that spectrum all the time, because for me, coaching is a mindset, it's a lifestyle. It's choosing to kick in your authenticity, your creative thinking, and just tap into any and all of the potential that you have within you. So, much as we cannot communicate this to the fish, swimming in the mud and struggling is because perhaps in their nature they cannot think of doing it differently. Yeah, rather than wiggling side to side, perhaps a whole combination of different movement, swimming high and low, maybe the way to go, because then they'll survive, you see, because yes, I mean, Michael has looked at it differently in terms of death, but for me, I would think I wish I could help the fish in terms of just empowering them to think and do things differently. And that creativity does not stand with me, does not stand with us coaches. It comes in a very authentic kind of sense. So I leave that to them.
Interesting. Now on to coaching. In fact, that's why I even put it as our heading. Is there anything more to coaching than just the buzzword? Because that seems to be the buzzword now. I'm a professional coach, I'm a leadership coach. Michael, you're a leadership coach. What's that?
So, which question do you want to answer?
Who's a leadership coach?
Would you mind if I address the buzzword thing? Okay. Because my own experience in coaching, when I began because it was a good word. And it looked good.
Sounded good.
It sounded good. It sounded like it could get me some money in the bank. If I go and say I'm an executive coach, you'll be impressed. And I'm an executive coach who can make you talk. So that was way back in 2013 or so. Now, as I went knocking and trying to tell people that I'm a coach, something started happening. They started asking me questions. So, what's your certification? Where did you train? How long? And I had to go back and check. So, what are these things that they're asking me? And hence now, from being a quack, what I call the quack coach, I became a certified coach. And I am certified as an executive leadership coach through an organization that has been accredited by the International Coaching Federation, meaning that organization has gone through rigorous evaluation by the ICF to see that what they're teaching, the content and the manner, meets that gold standard that Susan was talking about. So how do I end up being a leadership coach? Particularly because I have certification as an executive leadership coach.
Okay. And what do you do as an executive leadership coach?
I help leaders in particular, or aspiring leaders, maximize their potential, both professionally and personally, through a process where I provoke them into creative thinking.
Okay. So when I think of coach, I think of my high school coach in basketball, my basketball coach in campus, whatever. And I think, okay, so a coach is trying to get you through to learn or master an innate skill to master that skill to be able to use it to play the game. Same principles apply here, or something else are we looking at?
Perhaps this is a good point to just clarify what coaching is and what coaching is not. So, in a nutshell, coaching is not mentoring, it's not therapy, it's not sports, it does not align, it is not one and the same with sports coaching, it's not consulting, it's not counseling. Yeah. So, as to borrow on Michael's words, it's untapping your hidden potential within you. So there's that authentic sense of opening you up. You see, when you talk about sports coaching, the coach then teaches you, the coach tells you, Yeah. If you reflect on my colleague Michael's conversation, he said coaching works by way of throwing back the question at you. Okay, so that then you you untap or unearth your own solutions. All right, so it's not a matter of telling or showing. Yeah, that comes in many other angles, in training, in consulting, in counseling, in perhaps better still, mentoring. Coaching in itself helps you as an individual develop your own mechanism, develop your own style, as to how you tap into that technicality to keep getting back into it, to drive your own solutions, to get your own clarity, to help you demystify certain situations that are crucial to navigate your life in every space. So that is a core distinction between the actual coaching and the sports kind of coaching, where you are not told, you learn how to think on your feet, how to get your own solutions, how to develop your own innate personal structure or framework that supports you as you engage in matters life.
Surprisingly, it sounds very much like counseling, because
Yes.
that's exactly what counseling does for you.
Yes. So can I also go a step further? Counseling then gets into a past situation. Counseling deals with the past. You're trying to close a door. You're trying to get over a situation. Whereas coaching is futuristic. Yeah. Coaching helps you look forward better. So there are situations as a professional coach, you will decide, this is not my space. The problem here or the objective here for this particular client, needs to be addressed by a counselor. They need to deal with a past trauma. Yes, I need to overcome my challenge in terms of losing jobs. Okay, I need to overcome my challenge perhaps in certain areas in terms of how I engage with my team. Yeah, then once you're done with the counseling, then you come for the coaching. And what does coaching do in that sense? It helps you then rectify those biases that stand in your way to decision making, to leadership. So it's more of having a futuristic kind of approach in terms of gaining more clarity in terms of where you are and where you can or should go.
Sounds very much like counseling.
Yes, but so the bare minimum that I would give right here is coaching is past, future is present. Counseling is past, future looks. Coaching looks to the future.
Actually, counseling isn't past. Not really. The essence of counseling is to essentially bring you to terms with whatever it is that you think may affect you in the present from the past, but the understanding is that it will give you an even keel in the future. Now, I see nothing wrong with coaching being like counseling, because what I hear you say is coaching has to do not just with life experiences, but what one does in terms of engagement at the workplace, engagement with a career, engagement with the plans you have for your business. Whereas counseling deals with none of these but you, the individual. Now, again, you see the individual is still tied in because all these things we are talking about, it's an individual who is involved in it. So I see nothing wrong with marrying the two. Nothing. I also see nothing wrong with principles in counseling being found in coaching. Okay? Where I have a problem is when coaching tries to distance itself from counseling, and yet there are very many aspects of counseling that one sees directly in coaching.
Involved in coaching?
Yes.
For example, Michael, you are a psychologist, right?
Yes, I am.
Trained. Even before you got into these buzz things.
Still continuing to be trained.
Right. What's the difference then from what you trained in as a psychologist and now what you have trained in as a coach?
So the two fields there is a marrying point. Whilst psychology has a longer history of practice and research and theory and approach and the like, coaching is younger in terms of it's maybe, I think now we're talking 20, 30 years. Yeah, 25 years. 25 years old. So there's been plenty more time to delve into everything psychology and come up with different theories. I think it even goes back as far as Plato and Socrates when we come to psychology. But having said that, there are aspects of coaching that one could say, Socratic questioning, which we speak of in psychology, is present in coaching, in the type of questions that we ask. And now, you're looking for a difference. What is the difference? The difference lies in, one, that there are specific competencies that coaching speaks of. They were 11, they've come to 8. And these are the competencies that are looked for, sought after, expected of a coach to exude. And to help exude these competencies, then there are different models, which might be like your psychological approaches. But the different models all have present a system that helps go through the beginning, the middle, and the end of a coaching session. They're generally all the same, the models, but they all work to try and bring out these competencies. What kind of competencies are we talking about? That you're ethical. We're talking about that you focus on building trust in the relationship with the client, that you facilitate growth and learning, and there are sub-competencies to that you exude presence, that you listen actively. And as I mentioned them, then would you expect some of these things from a psychologist within the therapy room? Yes. Now, as a counseling psychologist, getting trained as a clinical psychologist, the aim is to find out where is the problem as a psychologist.
With the individual.
Yes, as a psychologist. So I sit down and I encourage you I do an assessment, a clinical intake. I listen to various different things, but as I'm listening, I'm thinking, I know what the statistical manual or the diagnostic statistical manual of mental disorders say, and the different criteria, and what are the symptoms for this and that. And I'm listening out to see, is there anything there? And then I might actually end up with a diagnosis. Now in coaching, I'm not coming to diagnose.
Yes.
I'm coming to ask those questions. I'm coming to help your potential increase. I'm not going to tell you, I can see what's wrong with you.
So are those attributes that a coach then must have in order to then be able to find those in somebody else? Are those the same attributes that you then look for in an individual that you then might be coaching? Because you're saying that, look at one of the definitions that you used is to then help an individual to master some of the things that they have, skills that they already have, but they have not been able to bring them out in terms of potential. Now, of those 8 things that a coach ought to have, are those some of the things that you look for in somebody that you coach?
You actually don't look for them within the person that you're coaching with. These are the guiding principles of professional coaching. So that is what, in a nutshell, a professional coach should exude and represent. Yes, that they can guarantee you. And by the way, perhaps it's important to mention here that these are taken very seriously in International Coaching Federation because as is a code, or not only is it a code of conduct, but it is very ethical, and we are bound by it as professional coaches to abide by those, that you guarantee confidentiality, that you look for avenues to help the person facilitate growth within themselves. So you're not telling you're more helping the person within the framework of all these 8 skill sets to support them within the coaching. All right. So perhaps the better way to look at it then is if one is looking for a coach, what should they look out for? Yes. Yes. And there's that chemistry test, there's that interaction, there's that free will and engagement. If you're seeking the services of a professional coach, what should you expect them to have? So that stands within the framework of the 8 kind of principles or competencies that Michael is talking about.
Susan, who needs a coach?
Anyone and everybody, really. Coaching is interesting because you're not told that you need to get a coach. You get to the point where you realize you're stuck, okay? Or you need clarity. Yeah, and you feel it dawns on you that there's a sense of you need support to try to be able to unpack some of these things. You've tried to tap into your inner thinking, your inner resourcefulness, your intellectual, your everything, and you feel there's something. I think there's still something else. Can I perhaps look for that person? So that person is not. We are not saying that we are the only solution provider or the sole source of these interventions, but coaching is one of those. So when you feel stuck, when you need clarity, when you want to bounce off your ideas, and just walk with somebody, and they can lead you, and you gain the utmost important word, clarity. Yes.
Is there like a limit to the number of coaches you can get? So say you have just graduated college, you're looking to begin a career, get a coach. You get a first job and you're thinking, hey, now I've been here for 1 year, I've just been confirmed after 6 months, 2 months probation, get a coach. Is there?
Yes.
Can you say, no, you're now misusing this coach thing?
What we're trying to
overusing.
Yes, what we're trying to do, and the International Coaching Federation and coaches, as it were, look to do, is make this so clearly understood that it's like walking in and you could go in for a one-off session and, to seek a coach on a certain situation. You could look out for all the varied arrays of coaches. We've got a leadership coach here. They're executive coaches. They're divorce coaches. They're, as many as the problems that we have in this life. Yes. So in terms of the nature of the interaction, it's you to really seek out, people who claim to be resourceful or competent in a particular area. And here there are different genres, there are different kinds of style in terms of how they help you unpack. Do they require you to do a number of sessions? Can you have a one-off session? So coaching should be applied. And maybe that's information that we need to drive across here. Coaching should be applied on a need basis. I need to go and see a coach, just like you need to go and see a doctor. As to whether it's a long term, that's up to you in terms of how you will need to, get that intervention to sort you out.
Okay.
Yes.
Let's take a break. When you come back, I want to know what should I look out for, as a result? How can I tell that this coaching was successful or not? Because you go see Michael, spend time with Michael. Then at the end of it, you come back. I've been meeting Michael. I've been seeing a coach. Apart from talking about this in social places, how does success translate?
Okay.
We are talking about coaching this morning. Susan Gishara is the president-elect of the International Coaching Federation Kenya Board, and she's here alongside Michael Oyer. I want you to say that. Say, this is Spice FM. I'm Michael Oyer.
This is Spice FM. I'm Michael Oyer.
Bas. That one. He is now an executive leadership coach. Let's take a break. We'll be back shortly, 27 minutes to 10.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Three, two.
Everybody, welcome to Kenya's biggest conversation.
Heri Latifa, Muga, Madam Du, nimesalimia wote sana.
Tumepokea salamu, asante sana.
Hapa Garissa today the weather is very good, only that baridi inatupeleka mbio sana.
Baridi ni degree ngapi hapa?
Hata sijui lakini madam tunakauka sana.
If you want to follow the money trail, you've got to think like a thief to be able to catch that thief.
A slap from a friend is better than a kiss from an enemy. You remember the kiss of Judas Iscariot? Iscariot.
Yes.
Is the one that imetuweka kwa hii mashida yote na mataabu kwa sababu of that kiss. Yet the slap of Jesus Christ when he slapped those guys wenye walikuwa wanauza mboga ndani ya kanisa took them to heaven.
18 degrees in Nairobi this morning. We'll see some sunshine at some point, but cloudy, going to highs of 24 and lows of 15. We'll see highs of 25 in a sunny Nakuru, and at 18 it's mostly sunny in Nyeri, highs of 24. We'll see partly sunny conditions in Eldoret, going to highs of 24. 30 will be the high in Mombasa, and we'll see 30 as the high as well in Malindi. At 22, Kisumu is mostly sunny, partly sunny conditions in Kakamega. 4 now at 21. It's 21 and sunny in Kampala, and we'll see sunny conditions at 27 in Dar es Salaam, 15 and sunny in Johannesburg, and we'll go to highs of 32 in Lagos and 32 in Kinshasa. Out in Beijing, going into early evening, 18 and cloudy, and it's sunny with thunderstorms warning for later in Paris, 10 and cloudy in London, and 8 and cloudy in New York, going to highs of 12 and lows of 8.
Spice up your life.
Okay, traffic hour more or less has come to an end. A little bit of traffic here and there in bits and bobs in different parts of the city. Still heavy coming out on Limuru Road and some on Gong Road this morning. Going towards the eastern bypasses where we'll still see some traffic as well. Apart from that, it looks good. We shouldn't have too much of a problem with traffic. Still through the morning, talk to us on Spice FM KE on Twitter.
Business News with Spice FM.
I'm Dennis Aseto. The National Treasury has appointed Lawrence Kibet to be the new Director General of Public Investments and Portfolio Management. Kibet joins from Image Registrars Limited, where he was serving as its Chief Executive Officer and Managing Director. The number of tourists visiting Kenya grew by 76.9% last year to 1.54 million compared to the previous year after the number of international visitors grew. The latest data from the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics shows that arrivals increased from 871,300 in 2021, while visits through the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport rose to 1.2 million. Arrival through Moi International Airport went up to 692,900. The Central Bank of Kenya has unveiled a QR code standard that seeks to hasten online payments for business and customers. The standards will guide how payment services providers and banks that are regulated by the CBK will issue quick response codes to consumers and businesses that accept digital payments. Financial Systems firm Mogo will extend 7 billion shillings worth of credit to small businesses and individuals running projects with the potential to generate income and increase productivity. It targets underbanked Kenyans who have been for a long period of time excluded from the mainstream financial system. Flexible loans lent to them seek to create new opportunities and support the growth of small businesses, which are the backbone of the Kenyan economy. Brainstone Kindergarten Limited is looking for a chef or cook with a diploma or certificate in food and beverages management with prior hospitality working experience. Suitable candidates are required to send their CVs and cover letter by 5th of May 2023. Visit jobs.digger.co.ke for more information on these and other jobs. Digger Jobs, your credible and trusted jobs partner.
Spice FM Business. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 98 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
Susan Geshara, the president-elect of the International Coaching Federation Kenya Board, and Michael Oyer, executive leadership coach, City.
The interconnectivity of disciplines and how it is the focus of specific disciplines comes into play, and what it is and how it is that they can perhaps best achieve the intended purpose. Coaching. When would you say coaching is perhaps or would be most effective? At the time when somebody has gone through the processes of formal education, acquired some sort of qualification with some paper to indicate that they are indeed qualified, or at the time when they're seeking all these things? When do you think coaching would be most important?
Okay. When you asked me what is coaching, I made an answer, and I said it's both for the professional and the personal, which leads to the fact that coaching is applicable, at least its principles, right through. Parents in parenting could do well if they were coaches because of the approach. Teachers, as we were saying, could do well with that approach. Managers, business leaders, and I dare say politicians could do well with a coaching approach, principles of coaching. Why do I say that? Because though it's a challenge and it's difficult also sometimes culturally, you allow the individual to own the solution. And once they own the solution, no one can really stop them. They propel themselves forward. Now, how do you know that a coaching session has been effective? One, the person who decides that it's been effective is the client. What do we base it on? When you begin the coaching session or the coaching engagement, you agree on what is it that we're going to be looking at. What are you hoping to get out of this? What would show that you've achieved the goal you wanted from this coaching engagement or session? So it can be evaluated. It's measurable. So by the end of the session, have we met? By the end of the engagement, have we met? And you can say yes or no. But what we're saying that as you grow in competency and skill in applying the models, then the probabilities of success increase.
How would I know that it's at that time or at whatever point that I need to then engage the services of a coach? How would I know that this is then what I need at some point in my life? A coach to step in and help me with 1, 2, 3 issue. How would I know that would be the next solution?
I think the first basis is really demystifying and understanding the different interventions that one has, okay, at your disposal. Yeah. Once you then really get a very deep and clear understanding in terms of what coaching is and what coaching is not, then you'll find its own space, because for matters of clarity, you coach the person, not the problem. Okay? Yeah. Meaning you're not trying to unpack a solution for them. The solution will be very self-driven. Okay? So it's when you're clear that what you need is extra support to tap into your thinking, into your biases, into your the very core of who you are. You feel there's something that you need to unlock.
Yeah.
Okay? That is when then clearly and undoubtedly the solution provider or the solution partner is a coach, because then coaching does not come to provide solutions. Rather, a coach comes to partner with you. Okay? And not coming in to delve into and tell you, this is the way we go, this is what you need to do. Rather, I'm partnering with you. So it's a support mechanism, okay, to journey with you in whatever direction you're seeking clarity. Yeah. So in journeying, you're the one who decides, how far do I need to go? Okay, how will I know that I'm successful when I get there? So you could space out your coaching over whatever duration. You could say, if it's life coaching, I need a certain space to be able to implement, to be able to decide. Okay, so the coach then in this case comes in to partner with you and not advise you. The support that's given is partnering, because how far do you want to go? Okay, how fast do you think we should go? What mode of transportation do you think we should use to get there? I'm really not coming here to be the judge and the advocate in giving you the solutions. So at that time is when you feel, I need something more. I need a professional who can be able to bring in their professionalism, not to tell, not to show, but rather to support and partner with me in this journey.
So what I'm hearing sort of is like, in life, the way people plan their lives, like we started with that person who just graduated and thinking, this is what I'd like to. Where do you see yourself in 5 years? And they're mapping their journey over the next 5 years. So you can also add, at this point, I will seek the services of a coach, because maybe at this point, I may be at a point where I need injection. The same way you say, okay, I've graduated, this is my first degree after working for X number of years, and now start thinking of maybe advancing into this. After X number of years, I may think of changing my direction. So at this time, I want to get married. At this time, I want to build my first or own my first home. You can also start thinking at this point, as a critical juncture in my life, I can bring in a coach, sounding board, someone to guide.
That's transition coaching, yes. So from at different transition points, you want a coach. Even at the point where you're planning these 5 years, engage a coach for the purpose of the soundboarding, as you called it. I would like to just add something. Sometimes the people who know that you need a coach are the people around you, not necessarily yourself. An employer might say, you're going to go for coaching. It sometimes comes out as punitive, but sometimes it might actually be positive. You've just been appointed head of, we're going to send you for coaching. That's not necessarily because, there's something bad. It's because there is a potential that needs to be maximized now beyond what you already had. I know of a person who the children come and ask, because they know that their mother is a coach, they come and ask, could I have a coaching conversation right now? You laugh, but it makes for very helpful, critical thinking. And the mother says, fine.
So I am not your mother at this point.
Yes.
Not mother, it's coach.
And they coach, and they finish coaching. And all right, great. Great. I'm back to mother. Yeah.
How do we see? I mean, if let's take a real life situation and maybe apply this to it. How do you see then this play out? I know you talked about at the end of a session, you should be able to say, look, have we attained this? But how would you see overall the benefits of coaching over time on somebody's life? If the people around you say, look, you're going to go for coaching because either there's this thing in you which needs to have itself manifested or brought out better, or to allow you then perform better. How would you see that somebody improved and you would say, yes, we can see that because they went and they were able to focus on certain areas through the coaching process, that then life changed or got better, as it were?
The thing that comes to mind is it's a 360 evaluation. So they themselves might say, I have been able to move from to. I have changed in this way, from this way to now this way. I met this goal that I'd set out to meet. But then the other aspect is the people around. Do they experience and see the change? And that change in a professional setting might be increased productivity in terms of the output for the unit or for the organization that they're leading. And there are some amazing stories of people who have taken, I say, the risk of the coaching approach in their leadership to sit with each employee, listen to them, hear where they want to go, how they want to go, and then unleash every employee with that goal of theirs, which is aligned to the organizational vision. And I just don't remember the organization, but the organization in a time of negative performance outperformed itself and the region. So there are tangible ways in which you can see the benefit of coaching. Can I say it's cause and effect? That's still out there. That's still a debate of trying to see is it cause and effect? Is it because of coaching? And I think I come back to C.T. Muga's comment that maybe they were also going for counseling. Maybe they also went for training and skills development. So
I have to ask this question. Anna, please, you want to say something?
Yes, and perhaps just to add on that, coaching is an experience. Yeah? Coaching, purely how you understand it, how you appreciate it, is an experience. And it's important to mention at this point that next week happens to be International Coaching Week globally. So there's a lot of pro bono support in terms of coaching. Any coach engaging professionally and worthy of the cause is actually going to offer opportunities for free coaching. You'll hear the buzz conversation going all around. And so I would encourage each one, the listeners and yourselves, just tap into it, because there'll be many conversations going around. Yeah. And by the experience of it is how you really get to see the reality unfold.
Okay.
Yes.
In the workplace, whichever workplace it is, whether it is in public service, in the corporate world, whichever, how then do you interface coaching with the HR department?
Yes.
All right. I don't understand the interface, but I'm asking.
I like the word.
Okay, good.
I thought you could just whip it.
Yes.
I've been looking for a place to use it and I couldn't. So the opportunity provided itself. Interface.
Yes. With HR.
Yes.
So,
the on-ground driver of coaching within an organization is arguably the human resource department. However, there is a value in embedding that coaching from the top. When there's buy-in from the top leadership in the coaching, and then HR makes it move within the system, then that organization proves itself as an organization that grows. So how does it interface? It is one of the critical elements, we believe, that an HR department should be pushing for, putting through, along with, go for training, go for team building, go for coaching.
And also, it really comes in as a new way of thinking, new way of doing, because from the conventional setup where you are told by your boss, you are directed to, you build in creativity and innovation in terms of ownership, in terms of what you do within the organization, because and by so doing, then there's a newness. There's better energy, better productivity, because you show up authentically. You see, and again, the leadership is freed of a lot of mundane tasks, if you, so to speak. They're left to be the thinking tank. They're left to be the implementers of strategy. Yeah, rather than having those conventional, traditional kind of routine kind of engagements, employee engagement. You come to me as a boss, and I ask you, what would you do about it? Own it. Yeah, show up within your role, in the wholeness, in terms of the role that you hold, and let me do the higher calling. Bounce off what it is that you're doing. Let me do the higher calling in terms of leadership.
Have you come across, or does there exist a situation where research has been conducted within this discipline of coaching to tease out and to understand the various methods, the various aspects of this discipline with the anticipated results and what the actual outcomes are over time? Because you say it's how many years old?
25 years old.
It's a young adult. So, yes.
Yes. The ICF platform is, or the ICF body is very resourceful in that sense. And one of the core areas is a think tank in terms of research. Research conducted within the African context, research conducted, depending on the different kind of persons that show up. And even in the different spaces, take for example leadership, its impact in terms of social engagement, So research is there and proven validated research in terms of guaranteeing it as a very authentic, very fast driver in terms of the growing profession, and by virtue of the fact that it's very it's very fast in terms of its growth globally, attests to the fact that it's providing a void that has been there in terms of being an intervention, and a very resourceful intervention that brings in a collaboration of disciplines and supports every area of life, so to speak.
So in terms of acceptability, you're saying that research has proven that globally, its acceptability, the acceptability factor is actually growing.
Very fast. It's actually, I think, stand corrected, the second fastest growing industry globally.
Okay.
Yes.
Now, what are some of the shortcomings that the research has also shown, things that need improvement on? Because research does that for you. It tells you what you want to hear. It also tells you what you don't particularly want to hear. Yes.
Yes, and perhaps that's a bigger space in terms of what does not come out. What are the other hidden pockets in terms of the conversation? Basically, it's the growth of the awareness that coaching is indeed a profession. And that said, it alludes to one of the questions that you previously brought in. When should it be introduced? And maybe that will go in future to affect the kind of curriculum that we have. Because coaching in itself is looked at as a very niche kind of space in terms of the demographic, age-wise. It's also positioned as a very expensive course. I'm seeing a coach is a big thing because coaching is perceived to be very expensive and all of that. So it's a demystification from very varied angles, and also then looking at penetrating it, localizing it at grassroots level, so that then the ownership, the understanding, the appreciation of coaching goes beyond the professionals, goes beyond the leaders, goes beyond the executives, who are driving this. The earlier it is appreciated and understood at the grassroots, at different platforms in communities for the youth, then the earlier we'll see a transformation within our culture. Yeah.
Do you have a situation where, for instance, this very, very subject that we are on has a place in training institutions? Okay, we talked about curriculum, maybe at schooling level, but institutions of higher learning. I mean, if institutions of higher learning are teaching happiness, I mean, of course, you can actually go and study on how to become happy, surely. It's the opportunity to actually learn how to coach. And so you end up with some paper qualification, some qualification that is authenticated by paper. That's what I meant. Yes.
I am not immediately, I'm trying to think, but I do think that there is such a qualification. They might be growing in number at university level, tertiary education level for coaching. It's there.
It has been introduced in some institutions. And basically through, we're looking to popularize it through stakeholder engagement and taking it far and wide. And a good avenue is International Coaching Week. That's one happening globally. And then in the near future, end of the year, we'll be having a Pan-African conference that brings in a host of countries within the Africa region that will be held here in Kenya and in Mombasa. So all these initiatives are to really bring in a lot of conversations for thought leaders, for coaches, for professionals, for non-coaches as well, in terms of what is the value of coaching and how can we all have a space in it.
To embrace it.
Yes,
you mentioned something about, when someone says I'm going through coaching, people look at you like, oh my goodness, you've got some money. Does ICF have a sort of a remuneration order for coaches?
Yes.
Say, between, if you're seeing coach so and so who's only has 2 years experience, don't pay anything beyond this much.
Yes, it definitely has. As I said, ICF adheres to the global standards, and that said, there's the framework, the governing framework in terms of remuneration, in terms of keeping yourself abreast, in terms of the trends and the rightfulness, as it were, in terms of coaching, continuous education. A lot of that infrastructure is really set on. So yes, the rates are there. But all that said and done, coaching, I alluded to the fact that it's one of the fastest growing industries globally, and therefore there are new coaches. So if you consider yourself, Michael is a leadership coach. There may be a leadership coach who's a youth and is a new entrant within the coaching profession. And so your pro bono hours count, free hours count, and also your paid up hours. And at this point, it may be also important to mention that there's the hierarchy in terms of coaching. So as you're also tapping into the resourcefulness through various mechanisms of education and skill development, then you're also growing. You're rising. And that also dictates the kind of rates then that you will be able to apply.
Okay.
Yes.
Susan and Michael, thank you very much for joining us today. We've learned quite a lot in terms of coaching.
My question is, what's your answer then?
People, thank you for tuning in to Kenya's biggest conversation. We'll be back tomorrow morning, God willing. Have a lovely day. It's 10 a.m.